The intention of justice is to see that the guilty people are proven guilty and that the innocent are freed. Only we have a problem here.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are taking a look at this case from a psychological perspective.
Fun. Everybody was having a good time.
Does Brian Albert strike you as the kind of guy who is always having fun? No. And here's a news flash for this judge. Mental health professionals have solutions.
They made an arrest. I got the guy who killed Danny.
There's like a mix between sadness and anger because that's the moment for him when he really started to believe that his mother was involved, right? Closes his eyes because he's now remembering. There is a huge psychological component to what was going on here. And according to this group, Brian Albert Jr. gets like the most celebrated birthday hour of anybody ever. Like every 30 seconds, someone's like, happy birthday! Right? She's trying to lump Colin into that earlier group.
Somebody jumps in as a journalist, draws attention to it, in a light that is not good for the prosecution. I mean, and there are serious allegations of corruption in the DA's office and the state police.
Oh my God, it's not like his 21st birthday.
What happened outside was separate from anything that happened inside.
The most incriminating 911 call.
They're in front of his parents having text messages.
Definitely someone should give you a gun and a badge.
Horrible text messages read back as if he's the aggrieved party.
Hold on, have each of you been called murderers?
Who wants to be the one to give Matt the bad news?
I wanted to prove, or to demonstrate.
I don't know where the dog was. I didn't hear any barking. Her name is Sunny. She was named after Santino Corleone.
To the side, in the side yard.
Say hi, everybody. There's my Johnny. Hello. That's my Johnny.
Sunny barks if you walk by my window and sneeze. You're not really going to deny this, are you?
It's so weird. It's like the Inside Out, upside down. In Narnia.
Really
I would get at some point in a timely fashion and then turn it over.
Know if we had it enough, or we had it all, I should say.
Kill me.
Not having any observable or detectable electrical activity would be asystole.
Means death. 3 separate tab IDs. The thing he had to encourage her to do was not to testify.
You know, and Julie Albert responds to the text message from John, and she goes, "My biggest fear in life is ending up on Turtle Boy."
Stop it.
Oh, you never seen that? Oh, I gotta get you that. Let me.
No
oh
way.
yeah,
That's wild.
Yeah,
No
I gotta
way.
dig that up.
God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
People are terrified of him. They're absolutely terrified of him. And how do we know that? We know that from the mega motion. Just another day for me, right? Which means it was just not an ordinary day for somebody else. Just when you thought you were out, they pull you back.
Karen Reed plots. She fabricates a conspiracy.
I am just a person who likes to understand. That's going to increase the likelihood that we're going to take some action.
Here she is.
I'm so sick.
Gotcha. Okay, so your sister.
My sister Jillian, yes.
Oh, it's funny. But then he's got part of his shirt untucked. His back pocket is kind of hanging out.
Testify that. So testify that. So.
And showing solidarity, you can see them there.
It's about getting justice for John O'Keefe. There clearly is an issue of integrity.
How dare they?
Justice for all. Only we have a problem here.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everybody. Yay. I Don't Belong Here show, and I am your host, Samantha Beningo. I am a behavioral scientist, a career psychotherapist, a sixth-year PhD candidate in clinical psychology, a master's level psychologist and counselor. And tonight, we are here to continue to seek justice for Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Hi guys, hi everybody, woohoo! So I'm back from vacation. Feels like I was gone for like a year. That's what it's like when you never go on vacation and then you go for a full week and you really don't work for for like a full week. It was tough, I have to tell you. But I am back. 3 days back, and I am fully back in the swing of my normal work week. Man, it has been a busy 3 days, but I missed all of you. Hi, guys. Yes. And I'll tell you, it's funny because as I was watching this open, I was like, wow, I haven't seen you guys since the Proctor phone dump situation escalated to where we now learn or have learned that up to 19 cases could be impacted by what they found on his phone. And that's interesting, right? Yeah. Uh so could it be that Michael Proctor in the end is the one that like gives up the goods? Could you imagine the irony, right? I mean, that is just it's like, oh man, that is almost too good, right? And I missed all of you guys too. Hi everybody. I know it does really feel like forever, but yes, 19 cases. And it's really, I was listening to Melanie today, and I have to say, so Melanie today had just a great show where she went back and she kind of revisited all of the like early Karen Reed, the reports, the statements, the arraignment, right, where we hear Adam Lally, the Michael Morrissey statement where he, you know, spews a bunch of nonsense in defense of Colin Albert, basically. Back in like August of 2022 or 2023 or 2022, 2023, must have been 2023, right? August 23, because it was really about Aiden or about Turtle Boy. So yeah, it was a really interesting show. And I have to say that there were a couple of things that I learned that I didn't realize today, and going back through all of that, a couple of key statements from Ms. McCabe, who we are going to take a very close look at tonight, and a couple of other folks as well. So it was pretty interesting. And of course, we know now that is he lieutenant? Former Sergeant Good. Is Sean Good now a lieutenant? Does anybody know? Why do I think he was promoted to lieutenant? Maybe not. Well, we know him as Sergeant Good. As far as I know, he'll always be Sergeant Good to me. He is also suspended with pay, we believe, although I guess it's not been fully confirmed that is because of text messages with Proctor. Would it be surprising to anyone to learn that there are, God only knows what types of text messages Michael Proctor has on his phones, and God only knows with who? But I can pretty much guarantee you that there's some names that we all know and love that appear there. Names like, I don't know, Kevin Albert. There's one for you. Yeah, and exactly, Twigs. How many whack jobs will they find? Exactly. How many whack jobs? Well, I think probably more than any of us can count. That would be my guess, right? Given the circumstances. These people, man, it's really something. And that's the thing. Like I went down the rabbit hole, guys. I have been down the rabbit hole. So turning my attention back to this case completely, and for this 10-part or 10 chapter, I should say, it's more than 10 parts, 10 chapter series on who killed John O'Keefe, I am so far down the rabbit hole. And even though maybe you've seen something like 100 times, but now that I'm going back after all this time and with all, with fresh eyes and with new information and with all the studying that all of us have done and all of the deception knowledge that I've acquired and just, all the information. And then you add all the new stuff that we have luckily gotten from Aussie Insider and from software developers and people who understand code and who understand the technology stuff. When I am going down these rabbit holes now, I got to tell you guys, it's something. It's like, wow, it's blowing my mind, right? It really is, because you just see it so clear. It's wild stuff. It really is. And in a way, I'm glad that we're going to be focusing tonight mostly on Ms. Jen McCabe, because, man, wow, this is a crazy story, right? It is a crazy story. It is such a crazy story that the mainstream media couldn't believe that it could be true, right? The mainstream media looked at it and said, well, corruption between 3 different police forces, or some girl got drunk and backed into her boyfriend, right? That's what they looked at. That was that level of, superficial assessment, and said, she probably did it, and kept going. I mean, that's really what happened, right? But when you look at this case and, people cite, and I'm going to do a larger video on this, but people cite this like Occam's razor, right? This idea that the simplest explanation is always the right explanation. But the problem with this idea is that is only true when you apply it from the present moment, right? So you can look at this enormous case with all these players and all of these people with all of these motivations and self-interests, all of these very sordid relationships, people that went to high school together, right? People who are married, so, been in romantic relationships since the 6th grade. You can't go back into that level of complexity and then apply this type of rule and say, oh, yep, simplest explanation is the right answer. It's such an absurd concept, right? Because again, this concept only applies when we are taking one piece at a time from the present and then applying it, right? And if you do that, isn't it interesting how you come up with something very different, right? In other words, let's say, for example, that we just take Michael Proctor's text messages, right? Or let's say that, we just take one aspect, one slice, Brian Higgins' text messages, Brian Higgins' behavior at the waterfall in that video, just that slice. Now apply Occam's razor. What's the simplest explanation for what's going on in that video? Right? What's the simplest explanation for what's going on in the Higgins texts? Right? So this idea that, well, it must just be like the simplest explanation is the right answer. Well, if we are to apply that idea to each and every step of this case, it's interesting how we come up with a very different answer than if we try to take the entirety of this case and all of the players, from the Boston Police Department to the local Canton Police Department, right? To the DA's office, to all the players there, to the judge in this case, to the attorneys, right? Like to the relationship between the relationship between Karen and John, and Karen and Jen, and Jen and John, and Carrie and John. Like, if you look at the complexity of this case and you take each piece by piece and you apply this idea of the simplest explanation, isn't it funny how the simplest explanation suddenly everything changes, right? The whole thing starts to look very, very different. And that's what we are going to be doing tonight. Samantha, hello, Larissa Harris, since 1999, says, Samantha, the Kill Me Hot Mic. How good is the Kill Me Hot Mic? I can't forget. Do you believe the reasons is knowing he was about to perjure himself? How often do you have a cop take the stand and say, kill me, even though he didn't know the mic is on? Exactly, right? How good is that moment? Oh my God. How good is that moment? I forgot about that. It's funny because I had forgotten about that until I was like 3/4 of the way through his testimony. And then I stumbled upon it and was like, oh my God, this is the hot mic guy. It was great. I know. He's so good. Garino. You know, the thing about Garino that's really interesting to me, you really get the sense that he doesn't like lying. Like, he's really bad at it. He wears it all over him. And, you know, of all the cops, it's like he has such a hard time lying that he refuses. Like, even so, when we're talking about the cell reports, right? The extractions, instead of just like outright lying, he does everything he can to dance around it so that he's still telling the truth, but also being deceptive. Do you know what I mean? It's very interesting. The other thing about him in the second trial, and I remember Aiden Turtleboy talking about this, how he had been in this car accident, right? I don't know if everybody knows this, but Trooper Garino had been in I guess, a very serious car accident in between trial 1 and trial 2. And so when he was walking into the courthouse, he was like hobbling in with this cane, making it seem like he was very seriously still injured. But then when he would walk out, I remember Aiden saying that he was like, you know, no cane in sight, just kind of, you know, easily walking down the stairs. I don't know if that's true, but that is very much what I remember him saying at the time. And it would make sense because I think Garino was going to do anything he could, use any lever he had to get out of and avoid testifying in that trial. I really think it was painful for him, which is very, very funny looking back on it. But it's also like a really good example of what I'm talking about, right? You know, you have these people that, again, they're high level saying, oh, she probably did it. But then you zoom in on every little detail and you go, this can't be happening. Is this real? Is this really what I think it is? And it is. It's wild. It's crazy. This case is nuts. It's nuts. It's just insane. It's insane, you know, and once again, you know, like, let's apply this Occam's razor to the idea that on the morning of January 29th, 2022, on this very small front yard, that if you haven't seen, please go to 34 Fairview Road. Please stand on the edge, on the curb. Don't go, you know, trouncing on anyone's property, but just stand on the edge of that street and look up at that window, because it's so close that anyone could take a rock or a ball or anything and just like lob it in. It's so close. It's like a cheap shot, like a free throw. Okay. That is such a small yard. The fact that anyone tries to argue that they didn't hear anybody on their lawn when they have, you know, an aggressive German Shepherd at the foot of their bed. Come on, guys. If the simplest explanation is always the right answer, how are you going to explain that? How is that possible? Right? Oh, it's not. Okay. So that is, by the way, here's another just little important detail, right? Again, about that morning, that there were 3 answered phone calls over to 34 Fairview before the 911 call, right? So, or I guess before the cops show up. So we have the 5:07 a.m. 39-second phone call from Jen to Nicole to Coco. Then we have the 6:07 and the 6:08 phone calls, which are both answered for like eight seconds both, right? And then we have the screenshot at 6:08 of Brian Albert's phone number or contact information. Who knows what that was for? I have some theories about what that might have been for. But nonetheless, that's 3 answered calls over to 34 Fairview. But again, nobody was awake in the house. We don't know. How did those phone calls get answered? I don't know. Because there was like this massive malfunctioning of phones just at that house on that night. Right? That's the obvious explanation. Oh man, it's just the craziness. The craziness. So yeah, I mean, it's the insanity, the absolute insanity. Welcome, Charlie J. Lynn. We have a new member. Welcome. I don't know why I have the big giant something, just so you know, StreamYard updated since I used it last. I don't know exactly what the update is. I didn't look at it closely, but I think that's why we have different font and different colors and different backgrounds. Hello, Sherry D, and thank you so much. She says, welcome back. You are surely missed. At least 19 cases and most likely more. That's right. Miles King may actually walk. Can you believe it? And I know that now, I guess, was this confirmed? Was it confirmed that Michael Proctor was actually in McLean, not the McLean in Boston, but I guess a smaller McLean hospital, psych hospital outside of Boston. My understanding that he was there for a few days. Again, I don't know if that was ever officially confirmed, but that it wasn't a very long stay. Would it surprise anyone to learn that he might have been in the psych hospital? No. Nope. My advice would be to stay there for as long as possible, actually, because clearly he could use it, right? I mean, look, we could all use a little vacation, a little time out from the world now and then. But I think Michael Proctor probably needs to take a very long, hard look at himself in the mirror and reevaluate his worldview. I mean, right or wrong, I think the thing about Michael Proctor, and this is sort of the tragedy of it, to me, he is just such an easy fall guy. Like, he is just the mouthpiece. He's like the one that was the lowest hanging fruit. And at the end of the day, for it to be him that blows it all up, it's like almost too good to be true, right? Because he didn't do any of this on his own. Right? He was like, Michael Proctor reminds me of like somebody who's playing the role of a cop. Like, he was, I don't know, so simple, basic. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, this is not a super sophisticated guy. Like, he's just doing what everybody else is doing. Kind of the epitome of the culture of that department, like the mouthpiece, right? And he's the one, because of that takes the fall, because of his mouth. Because he's the guy that's saying probably what everybody else is saying, but just isn't putting in a text message to his high school buddies, right? I mean, unless they are too, and we just haven't seen them yet because the feds just didn't pull their records. Yikes, that would be interesting. But I don't know if you guys saw this. This actually was very funny. Did you guys see? So it's got to be tough, right? Like, it's got to be tough when you are on an airplane and Aiden Carney, Turtle Boy, is getting photos of you sent while you're going on vacation. Yuri Buchanan is like going down to Tampa, Florida with his brother or wife and sister-in-law, I guess. And people are actually sending photos on the plane by the pool to Turtle Boy. And they're like doing shots, right? I mean, oh my God, these people, I think it's great. I mean, listen, it's hilarious. And nobody is more deserving of it in the whole wide world. But it also tells you a lot about like what these guys are up to, right? What is he doing? He's doing shots by the pool with his brother. That's what he's doing on his time off. Because more alcohol is definitely the answer to the problem. Definitely the answer to the problem. Karen McCourt sends $6.99 and says, do you think the McAlberts are freaking out right now? I think it depends on who you are talking about, right? I think it depends on who you're talking about. Right. I don't think Brian Albert freaks out ever. Like he's Mr. Cool Guy. So I think he probably just always kind of puts his head down and plays Mr. Cool. But I think they've all been freaking out all along. I mean, the one thing that I think the mega motion proves when you really walk through, Betero and the whole mega motion, every little detail, what that lays out so perfectly is they're freaking out. That's what it was all about. It's the McAlberts having a nervous breakdown because they understood who Turtle Boy was already. They already knew kind of like who he was, what his power was locally, and panicked immediately the second that they knew he had picked up the story. And that was so, you think about how funny that is now, right? Because he has so far surpassed the reach that they were worried about, right? This is now like international level of notoriety. And they were worried just about like the local, the Canton local, like Boston area, because that's who Aiden had reached previously. That's what they were trying to stop. That's what the whole thing about Lindsay and Catherine Peter and about trying to find, trumped up charges for Aiden. That's what it was all about, trying to shut him down. And in so doing, they're so freaking stupid that all they did was incite more anger. All that has done is make them look more guilty. Like, absolutely, they have more to actually hide. Like they are trying to, invest in trumping up charges on an innocent guy in Aiden. And so all it's done is freak them out, actually make them make the Commonwealth, make their hands much dirtier in the end. Because I think when this is all said and done, Aiden's probably got a pretty hefty civil suit on his hands. Once these charges are all gone, because what do they have? I mean, look what they've done to this guy, right? Whether you like him or not, he is a journalist. And it was the McAlberts themselves that admit he was a journalist. They knew who he was. They knew his brand of journalism. They knew it. Right? That's those text messages between John O'Keefe and Julie Albert. Oh, my biggest fear is to be on Turtle Boy. So, I mean, the whole thing is really absurd. And I think they've been freaking out all along. So are they freaking out? Absolutely. Yes. I think they've always freaked out. And this is interesting. So I was thinking about this, and this is probably a very big discussion. And I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts about this. I think that some of the way that I'm observing, like Jill Daniels, her behavior with Aiden, to me, they think, it seems to me that they think I'm trying to figure out how to say it. It seems to me, based on how they responded, going back through their reactions to Aiden, trying to shut him down, right? The entitlement all the way through. Jill Daniels literally like actually assaulting him on the street. I mean, that one's really interesting for me because I understand how frustrated you have to be. Do you understand? Like, do you realize how frustrated you have to be to literally be so angry that you decide that the best option you have is to, drive like a maniac up onto the curb, grab the person who you are angry with, in this case, Aiden Carney, the journalist who's outing your family, who they think is torturing them, right? Her best option is to physically assault him. Like that level of frustration. I mean, this guy, talk about get under their skin. I mean, their lives are completely uprooted in every way since this happened. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And the thing is, like, they care so much. If it was me, I mean, I guess I can't really say, right? I don't know what I would do. I mean, it's easy for me to say that I would put my head down and try not to pay attention to all the noise. To me, it seems like these people are doing the exact opposite. Like they are on top of all of it and have been from the start. And all that's doing is inciting more insanity from them, more upset, more anger, more craziness, making bad decision after bad decision, right? Like in hindsight, was it really a good decision to go after Turtle Boy? I'm not so sure that was such a good move. All you did is give him more, right? More fire, more ammunition. Ugh, these people. But they want to pretend like they're innocent. I mean, that's the other thing, right? They want to try to put forth this idea that they're innocent. Have you ever see, I guess for me, like I worked in addiction for the first 10 years of my career. When you work with addiction, there's a lot of sayings. I'm not going to get into the sayings, but they're like when you work with addiction, people that are actively, let's say like using opioids. Let's say you're an actively addicted to heroin or cocaine or oxycontin, whatever. People that are actively addicted to drugs like that, you know, the drugs are running the show. When we talk about addiction, what it means is the drugs have taken over the nervous system. So they're in charge. They are literally running the operation. Okay. You're kind of like in the back seat, your personality, your desire, your willpower, your personhood is sitting shotgun to your drugs. That's what it means to be an addict, right? Now, most people don't truly understand that because you don't understand physiology, and most people don't, right? It's hard to really conceptualize this idea that like a drug could be driving the ship, but it is. And in that case, what happens is like literally someone who's in an active addiction like that, they will lie to your face. They will swear to you. I mean, they will swear, I did not take your $50. I did not do it. I swear to you, Sam. They will look you in the eye. They will do anything to try to convince you that they did not do whatever it is that you are accusing them of doing. Did they do it? You bet your ass they did. Of course they did. Yes, they did. 100% they did. That's what addiction means, okay? It means that you're no longer in the driver's seat. You want to be able to say you didn't take it, but you did. This feels like that, right? The McAlberts, they just want so badly for us to believe them that they are going to be incensed and they're going to look you in the face and they're going to swear to you up and down. Yeah, whoever killed John O'Keefe, they should pay, right? If we know it's Karen Reed, whatever. And it's like, ugh. But they just can't tell the truth. That's the problem. The problem is that they just can't tell the truth. And it's not one person, it's all of them. If you haven't seen Tristan Morris and his testimony, I would strongly suggest you go now and take a look. Because why would Tristan Morris have anything to lie about, right? Who is he? He's a nobody in this case, right? Most people don't even know who the hell that is when you think about the murder of John O'Keefe. But boy, does he struggle on the witness stand, right? So, the problem that these folks have is that they can't stop lying. They can't tell the truth. So you can be as incensed as you want. You can be outraged, right? Oh, you're so angry at Turtle Boy or all of us. And oh, you're going to threaten. And I'm going to take your license because you're saying that we're murderers. Okay. Sure. Right. Okay. Well, just one question. Why can't any of you tell the truth? If you have nothing to hide, what is the aversion with the truth? Are you selling narcotics out of your garage? Is that what the problem is? Because if you had nothing to do with the murder of John O'Keefe, then you must have like the world's biggest grow operation going on in the garage. Like you're selling crystal meth. I don't know. It's one or the other. You either have something to do with the death of John O'Keefe or you have a meth lab in the garage at 34 Fairview. Right? It's so insane. So, with that, by the way, I'm not actually suggesting there was a meth lab in the garage at 34 Fairview. I you know what I think about that. But that's where we're at, right? I mean, that is the level of insanity here. Like, just like when I spent 10 years working with addiction and you have people who swear to you, like they come up on a urine screen, they come up positive, let's say, for opioids or for whatever, cocaine on their urine screen. They're like, but Sam, I swear I wasn't using, I swear. You're like, no, I know. It's, like, come on, right? It's insane. It is. It really is insane. Exactly. John found the meth lab. That's funny. That is funny. Yeah, that's funny. That explains everything, though, right? Oh my God. Gina Parrish, 4096, said $5 and says they got greedy and went for KR Trial 2.0 and Turtle Boy. I know. And now all the corruption is coming out and they deserve it all. Yeah, to me, because like I said, I've been down this rabbit hole and it's so many things. It's not just the death of a police officer actively trying to put it on an innocent person, a person, whether you like her or not, who is innocent and who had nothing to do with it. Would you want that on your conscience? People talk about karma as like a spiritual retribution, but karma is more than a spiritual retribution. It's a psychological retribution. It's a sense, a guilt, a consciousness of guilt. It is having something on your conscience that is so terrible that you live with the knowledge every day that you actively made every effort to send an innocent person to prison for the rest of their life to save your own ass, right? Unless you are a sociopath, and very few people are. I have maybe one I've ever met. That's how rare it is. Okay. I've been doing this work since the 1990s. Maybe one. It's arguable. and that person had brain damage, actual structural brain damage. I've only ever met one sociopath, so it's extraordinarily rare. That means that the rest of us, we actually experience a guilty conscience. You can't just absolutely destroy an innocent person's life and like, skip along your merry way and like live happily ever after. And that's it. Nope. Never think about it again. Not unless you are sociopathic. Right? That's the kind of thing, that's a scar. That's a psychic scar. That's a psychological scar. That doesn't just go away. But that isn't the worst of it. Because not only did these people try to pin it on an innocent woman, that's not where it ends with this group. They would go on to make friends, to become besties with the victim's friends and family. Can you imagine? To me, when I think, we're going to watch it in just a minute, when I think about Jennifer McCabe performing on the witness stand, you know who she's performing for? Ms. Peg O'Keefe. That's who she's performing for. You can even see sometimes she looks over while she's on the stand, right? Because that's who she's performing for. That's who she has to sell the performance to. Could you imagine being outed? Do you know how it's not just humiliating. Think about that. Think about if you're Jennifer McCabe and everybody that you know, because they live in an echo chamber of their friends and family, right? So the people around them are just nurturing their bullshit. Oh, they're just feeding back to them whatever it is that they want to hear all day, every day. Imagine if you start thinking that little world could collapse if I'm ever outed, if the truth comes out. If the truth about my Google search, if the truth about my horrific lying were to wind up in the hands of Carrie Roberts or the O'Keefes, could you imagine what that does to a Jennifer McCabe? That's what she's probably the most afraid of. Right? Because that's what she did to herself. Like, how you do that, I don't know. That's the thing, right? How do you do that? How do you look yourself in the mirror every single day, having gone to such great lengths to win over Carrie Roberts? To me, that is just that I don't even know what to say about that. That is just egregious on a level that's hard to. And I'm sure, as I'm thinking about it now, I'm sure that Jennifer McCabe never set out to do that. It probably wasn't like on day one. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be best friends with Carrie Roberts forever. We're going to call each other every day and be BFFs, right? But that's what happened. And now that's where we are. Ay, ay, ay. It is not a place. That is not a place you want to be. Let me tell you. I don't know how you ever come back from that. I don't know how you ever make that right. Talk about a guilty conscience. That's one that you're going to have on your conscience forever and ever and ever. And there is no escaping from. So not somebody that you would ever want to be. That's for sure. And on that note, so we have a lot to go through, you guys. And I'm glad that we elected to focus on Jennifer McCabe tonight because there is so much. There's so much. And just before this show, I was going back and I was saying, all right, what are we going to focus on first? Like, where are we going to start with this? And so I kept moving the marker back. Like I started like in the middle of cross-examination, trial 2, and then it kept going back. Then it was like farther back. Then it was farther back. And I ultimately landed on like halfway through day 1 of Hank Brennan. Because, well, I'm not going to give it away because there's a lot in here that I want you to see. I want you to see the difference between how Jennifer McCabe presents when she doesn't see the person asking the questions as a threat to her in any way. Note the body language, note the tone, right? Note how much more comfortable and relaxed she seems, knowing that she's not about to get cross-examined by AJ, right? Who I think, man, she must have, I think about this now, Jennifer McCabe must have practiced for that second trial for like a year. Like, I don't know if they were doing drills. I don't know if she had her different sisters like help her, but that woman must have sat in front of a mirror and practiced day after day after day for that cross-examination, because the difference between who she showed up as in the first trial and the second trial were like night and day, two completely different people. Now, we all knew that she was so defensive, and she came off so defensive that clearly she went out of her way to do anything she could to try to shed the defensiveness before seeing AJ again in the second trial. But that's not just, people said she's on drugs. Of course she's on drugs, but there's no drugs on the planet that just take that away like that, right? Like she practiced, she rehearsed for the second trial, in addition to obviously taking something, whether that something was a benzodiazepine, look, here's the thing. If you're these people, you're probably taking benzodiazepines like before just the trial, right? Like, if you're Jennifer McCabe, I mean, let's be honest, like, that's probably the only way you're going to sleep at night ever again. If I'm Jen McCabe anyway, like, I don't know how you do anything. I don't know how you, I just don't. I don't know how this person looks at her 4 children in the face. I just don't know how you do it. So can't be good. Let me tell you, can't be good. It can't be good for your mental health. And it's definitely not good if you have a degenerative neurological illness like multiple sclerosis. Certainly any kind of additional psychological weight that you're carrying physiologically is not going to help you with your neurological problems, right? No, not at all. All right. Wow, you guys, so much to say. So let's jump in, because we're going to be here for like the next 10 years if we don't just get started on this. And we'll take like little breaks along the way. All right. So here's what I'm going to start. We're going to start with Jen McCabe after the waterfall. So we're going to start with leaving the waterfall, being questioned by the prosecution, by Hank Brennan. And then we're going to interject stuff along the way. There's so much to interject, and we're going to be here for a while. So settle in, everybody. Get your popcorn, get cozy, because we've got a lot of deception detecting ahead. A whole lot. All right. So let me bring her up here for you guys. And before we do that 100%, I want to show you the little list. Let me make sure this is the right one. Yeah, there it is. Okay. There she is. All right. So before I bring that up, let me add this. And let me take this so you can, hold on, you guys. See if I can figure out how to change the screen there too. Oh, no. Okay. All right. So these are Jennifer McCabe's indicators. Now, these are specific to Jennifer McCabe. And I want everybody to know them so that you can play along at home. So what do I mean by indicators if you don't already know? These are like her tells. Like if you were a poker player, these are the things that when she says them, we know because we're already pretty well versed at Jennifer McCabe. God, it's a long story if you don't already know, but trust me for now. We already are very well versed at how Jen McCabe lies. So these are her tells. These are the things that she does when she's lying. Now, some of these are true for everybody, but these are also very specific to her. And I want to just go through them because there's some very important ones in here that I want you to keep an eye out for. So she uses the phrase, I don't recall. The only time when someone says that never happened, the only time that that isn't deceptive is when the question is, have you ever? Did you ever see John O'Keefe come into the house? No, I never saw John come into the house. So that we wouldn't necessarily say is deceptive because the question was, did you ever? Okay. If there isn't a question, did you ever? And somebody says, that never happened, never is pretty much always a red flag. For Jennifer McCabe, she also will say incorrect. Okay. She did that a lot in the first trial. She does it a little bit in the second. When people, and this is true for most people, but it is also true for her, when she says absolutely not. Now, why would that be? Because here's the thing. Okay. When honest people are trying to defend themselves, they don't feel the need to go above and beyond to be like to defend them, right? They're just like, no, that didn't happen. So absolutely not. That is not the kind of thing that an innocent person feels the need to say. Now, here's something that I study a lot because if you've heard me at all, you know I talk a lot about energy and energy conservation being kind of a very significant principle in our lives. It's basically the number one survival rule. The human body and mind is always looking to conserve energy, and especially with language, because it takes a lot out of us to speak, right? To use language. So people are going to try to find the simplest way to say something. We're not going to use more words. We're not going to try to be excessive in our language as much as possible because of this principle of energy conservation. That is why people that are, overly storytelling or who are using way too many words or who are emphatic with their denials, that is why those things are tells, because this principle of energy conservation is the law of the universe. It's just like the law of being human. So when you see somebody using a ton of their energy and, in their language to try to communicate, you know that there's a reason, because that's just not what an honest person is going to do. The only reason we would do that is if we feel like we have to. The other thing that Jen McCabe does a lot of, to be honest, or what are called credibility builders. A big one that we see with her is that big cross that she's got around her neck. To me, this makes me a little physically ill. Someone who's trying to use religion in her testimony to try to sell that she's credible. I caught that in real time during the trial. That made me feel a little nauseous. That's pretty disgraceful to me. Okay, fine. You're going to go to any length to try to sell yourself. Fine. But that to me, it's like, really? Really? You got to find like a, 2-inch, gold cross and make sure your shirt is buttoned open to it as a way to build credibility with the jury, Jen? Come on. Really? Hey, so that is a credibility builder also, but you'll see that she does it throughout. Another thing that I want you to look out for, I'll tell you something, Nicole Albert does this a lot, and it's tough to watch. When you hear people testify to what other people said, so Nicole Albert's like talking about how she ran into Colin when she's coming into the house from the waterfall, and she's like, "Oh, hi, what are you doing here? And she fakes this conversation that she had with Colin Albert. You're like, I thought your son was having his birthday. Why would you ask that? Right. I mean, it's just so absurd. But anyway, anytime that you see any of these guys recounting what somebody else said to them in a conversation, that is deceptive. You're going to see a lot of that from Jennifer McCabe. It's just so absurd. When somebody starts explaining something before they're asked, she does a lot of this on cross-examination, and I'll point it out when I see it. But in other words, they start giving you an explanation for something like preemptively before, because they know you're going to ask about it eventually. And again, I'll point it out when I see it. We know, obviously, you guys know when someone's explaining and then they also are using negative language. So negative is like didn't, don't, haven't, hadn't. It's just we don't, honest people don't speak in the negative. And you'll know when you hear it, it sounds odd because it sounds excessive. Like there's almost too many words in a sentence. That sounds a little weird. Well, that's why, because people that are being dishonest speak in the negative when they are explaining. They'll also start with like so or well, right? I think it's something like 80% of the time when somebody starts a sentence with well, it's deceptive. I don't have the exact statistic in front of me, but it's something like that. All right, so those are the big ones to look out for. There are others. The other thing before we get started that I want you to keep in mind, she has an agenda. So Jennifer McCabe has an agenda. There are like a list of things that she has to get in, that she has in the back of her mind, that she has to make sure and hit, like her markers. I'm not going to tell you what they are ahead of time. See if you can figure it out as we go through. I'm sure some of you could already guess off the top of your head, but you'll I mean, if you don't already know, they're easy to see, easy to spot. Okay, so with that, I'll maybe bring this back up a little bit later. So with that, let's go ahead and get started on Ms. Jennifer McCabe and her direct examination with Mr. Hank Brennan. Okay. Here we go.
The weather conditions like as you're driving there?
It's starting to snow to the point where it's starting to like accumulate. It's on your car. It's just, getting on the street.
Is it light? Is it heavy?
It's light at this point.
How long does it take to get from the waterfall to your sister's house?
5 to 8 minutes, depending on lights and weather, etc.
When you first get to your sister's house, while you're still in the car, describe what you see.
My wipers are on. I'm just looking out the window and it's snowing. It's dark.
Anybody in the driveway? Any cars in the driveway that you see?
Oh, when I pull up to my sister's?
Yeah.
As I pull down the street, I take a left into the driveway and there is a Jeep that's parked on the street. And there's maybe a couple of cars in my sister's driveway.
All right. So right off the bat, you probably noticed right away. So whenever you hear just, let that be like a flag that something is coming. Because when we say that, it's like we're saying, yeah, just look over here. Don't look over there. Like I was only looking at this thing, which is just another way of saying, don't look at this other thing. Okay. And what happened there was she got what Hank was asking for her to remember to say. So this was where she has to come up with, oh yeah, the Jeep is in front of the house. Now, for those of you that were listening to Melanie earlier today, and for anyone who watched the trial very carefully or both trials very carefully, you might remember that Ms. McCabe told Michael Proctor, and actually AJ is going to bring this up during his cross-examination of Jennifer McCabe. In the first report that she gives to Proctor, she says that's where Karen Reed's car was, that Karen's car is by the mailbox or by the driveway. But for some reason, and I still don't know exactly what it is, I think we all have some theories about why maybe it's so important to have Higgins's Jeep right out in front of the mailbox. I think it's obvious that his Jeep was not at the mailbox. It's not possible that his Jeep was at the mailbox because, number one, when Julie Nagel's brother comes and picks her up, we know that that car is right behind Karen Reed's Lexus, right in front of the driveway, right? And there's no Jeep. Nobody sees a Jeep. So why it is that these guys insist upon Brian Higgins having his Jeep in front of the mailbox, it just, I don't know what the thinking is there. And here's the thing again, another moment where the really small yard is super important. This is a really small yard, okay? A full-size Jeep in front of the mailbox basically takes up the vast majority of the yard, okay? So I don't know, like, it wouldn't be possible for that Jeep to be there and for Karen Reed to back into John O'Keefe. Like the two things couldn't both happen at the same time because the Jeep would be there. So you know what I'm saying? So it wouldn't be possible. There's no place to back up. So it doesn't make any sense why they insist upon putting this Jeep there. Again, like I said, I think we all have some theory about why, but the point is that initially Jennifer McCabe doesn't mention there being a Jeep. And after that first, initial statement, for whatever reason, it's important to put the Jeep there. And so that's what she's doing. And she remembers, thanks to Brennan, kind of like jarring her memory, right away, she remembers to say it here.
What do you do when you arrive at your sister's house?
I go in the house.
Now, there are a couple doors at your sister's house.
Yes.
Is there a front door?
Yes.
Is there a side door?
Yes.
Which one's closer to the driveway?
The side door.
Which door do you go in when you get to your sister's house?
The front door.
Was anybody with you when you went in?
My husband, Matt.
You walked in together?
Yes.
Tell us the first person you remember meeting.
When I went in the house?
Yes.
Probably my niece was at the table, and then I saw my nephew, Brian.
Was there anybody else you saw at the table?
Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson.
So when you walk in the front door of the house, is it what table? Is it a living room table or kitchen table?
Oh, you walk in and then you go to the right and it's into the kitchen and there's a table there.
Is the kitchen separate from the living room or is it open?
It's open, but they're separate.
Can you see the kitchen table when you walk in the door if you turn and look right?
Yes.
And when you go into the kitchen, you said there was a woman by the name of Julie Nagel?
Yes.
And then another woman, Sarah?
Yes.
You know her last name?
Levinson.
Okay. Julie Nagel, did you know her when you walked in the house that night?
I had met her a few times.
Had you spent time with her? Were you friends with her?
No, I just had met her a few times, and she had watched my dog for me when my nephew couldn't.
When you would go away, would your nephew be responsible to watch your dog?
Yes.
Did you understand that Julie Nagel had watched your dog a couple of times?
Yes.
Had you ever socialized with her before that night?
No, I may have seen her at a graduation party, but never beyond that.
Were you friends with her at that point?
No.
Friendly enough that she watched your dogs?
Yes, through my nephew. He just said my friend's going to do it, and I trusted his judgment.
And there was another woman by the name of Sarah. Did you know her before you saw her that night?
I knew of her. If I were to see her, I'd say hi, but that's the extent of it.
How did you know of her?
Just from being in the town, going to different sporting activities and just being around.
You said your nephew Brian was there as well in the kitchen?
Yes.
This was his birthday?
Yes.
How old was he?
I think he was turning 23.
Was there anybody else in the house when you and your husband first got there?
Yes, my sister and Brian Albert and Brian Higgins.
So Mr. Higgins, Brian Albert, and your sister were there before you?
Yes.
Where was everybody when you first came in?
My niece Caitlin, Sarah Levinson, Julie Nagel, and Brian Jr. were all at the kitchen table. My sister was over, I think, cleaning the counters, and Brian were off in that TV room that you can see from the kitchen because there's a wide opening.
If you walk in the front door, would I look left or right to see the TV room?
You'd look right to the kitchen, and then through the kitchen's the TV room, but you could look, and when you walk in, you can see because it's open.
Is the TV room in any way have a relationship with that side door?
Yes, it does.
If you were to walk in the side door, would you be walking into the TV room?
Yes.
All right. So, yeah, there's a lot, right? I mean, this is an interesting point in the testimony because from this moment on, whatever happens to John O'Keefe, this is when it happens, right? So, because remember, Jennifer McCabe is talking about the moment that she walks into 34th Fairview. Okay. She walks in, she's saying she saw her nephew, her niece, Sarah Levinson, Julie Nagel. Okay. Right? Okay. That's fine. But whatever happens next is important because this would be when whatever goes down would have gone down. So it would be interesting just mentioning that now. It is true that I noticed people are saying, she's got the dry mouth. She definitely does. Of course she does. You'll note though that with Brennan, it's not as bad as with Alan Jackson. With Jackson, there are moments where she actively just looks terrified, and that makes sense. He'd be pretty scary to be. The thing about that you have to remember, she doesn't know what he has, right? She doesn't know what he's about to throw at her next. Yes, she's been up against him before, but she doesn't know. Does he have new stuff? Is he going to throw out new evidence? She doesn't know. So she doesn't really know what's coming around every turn. And that's part of what is keeping her on her toes with Jackson. All right, let's let her go here.
When you saw your nephew Brian Jr. and his friends, are his friends about the same age as him?
Yes.
Were they drinking?
Yes.
Was there music?
That's right.
Yes.
And when you went in, did you spend time with the group?
Yes, I sat right down and started talking to them.
And when you were speaking to them, did you have any drinks that night?
I believe they brought me over a White Claw, but I didn't have more than a sip of it. I really wasn't. I was at that point where I just didn't want another drink.
As you were in the kitchen, were you expecting anybody else?
We had mentioned it to Karen and John, and I had actually just spoken to John, so I was expecting them.
So when you saw John O'Keefe in the waterfall, that wasn't the last time you spoke to him?
No.
You had spoken to him, was it on the ride to your nieces? To your sisters?
Yes.
Did you call him or did he call you?
He texted me and I believe asked something like, where to? And since I was driving, I called him.
When you called him, what did you tell him? What did you guys say?
I just said they live 34 Fairview Road off of Chapman.
Do you know if John O'Keefe had ever been to the Albert home before?
I don't believe he had.
In that conversation, how long did that conversation take?
It was quick.
Was there any other conversation that you had with him other than that one conversation?
Yes, he called me back and he was trying to find it.
Trying to find the address?
Try to find the house on Fairview.
Did he ask you for help trying to find the address?
I'm not sure his exact word.
Okay, so you'll know what's happening here. She's already spoken to Brennan about letting him lead this part of the discussion. So she's trying to wait for a question so that she can just give succinct answers. And you can see that she's in a conflict over whether to add onto the answer that she's giving or try to wait for him to ask a follow-up question. You can see that's what she's doing right here, which calls into question, why would it be so important right at this moment for her to be concerned about waiting for a question, right? But you can tell that's what's going on here. She is absolutely debating about whether to add on to the answer she's giving or just wait for him to ask another question.
But yes, he needed help. And so I just said, I told him, just go down the street, go by Bella's house. It's at the bottom of the street.
So you used Bella's house as a point of designation to try to guide him to get to your sister's house?
Yes.
Tell us who Bella was to John.
Bella is my daughter and John's niece friend. So Bella is friends with my daughter, John's niece.
Okay. And was there any relationship between Bella's mother and John that you knew of?
Okay.
Thank you. May I?
Yes.
That second phone conversation you had with John, do you know about what time that was?
I don't, it would be after 12:15, but before 12:30, approximately, between that.
Were you still driving when you had that conversation?
Yes.
And at some point you told us you arrived at your sister's home and went in?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to move forward now to when you were inside the house. Tell us generally when you first got there and saw everybody, what were you doing?
I just sat down at the table. I started talking to them. We were listening to music.
Okay, so this is great, right? Matt does the same thing when he's asked this question. I just sat down and, nothing. I did nothing. We didn't do anything. I just sat down. We said happy birthday to my nephew and we listened to music. There's nowhere left for them to go. They don't know what to say next. That is strange. And you will note that this is very odd, right? Remember, guys, all you have to do is think back to what happened in your mind. All you got to do is remember back. Okay, well, I was sitting at the table. I was seated next to whoever. Oh, Sarah Levinson and Julie were sitting there and they were talking about what happened 2 weeks ago when this happened, right? I mean, all you have to do is recount what happened. So why is that so hard to do? Oh, because whatever happened, she doesn't want to tell us, right? I mean, she can't tell us. So let's just hear this. We'll go back a second or two and hear what she says here.
Okay. I'd like to move forward now to when you were inside the house. Tell us generally when you first got there and saw everybody, what were you doing?
I just sat down at the table. I started talking to them. We were listening to music. Typical night.
Okay. Anything stand out as far as music or interaction with the group?
No, we were just laughing, telling stories. At one point, I'm not sure if it was at some point, my other nephew had been over my house and had shown me this video.
Okay. So in case you don't know, everything about what's happening right now is deceptive. Everything about the way that she is saying what she's saying, everything about the stumbling, everything about the order that she's presenting this in. And, oh yeah, by the way, we know for sure that she doesn't show It's Raining Men video at this time. So this, we know without a shadow of a doubt, is 100% a lie. 100% without a shadow of a doubt, right? So I'm just throwing that out there. We know what she's saying right now with absolute certainty. This is bullshit. 100%.
on his phone, and it was a family inside joke. The video was a music video from a long time ago. And so I was telling my other niece and nephew, oh my gosh, you have to see this video. It's hysterical.
Okay. And this is an example of what I was saying about, right, when you go on and on with information that is just needless, that's not what people do that are telling the truth. They just don't do that. They don't go on and on with endless nonsensical information that's irrelevant, right? They just don't do it. So just another reason that we know for sure. But as I said, we absolutely already know this isn't true because we already know that she was not, that this raining men nonsense was not on her phone on this day, on this night.
And then we started playing it and watching it.
What was the video?
It's Raining Men.
Did that get a lot of playtime during that get together?
Well, I have one sister who sometimes has a little too much to drink, takes out an umbrella, and will dance. So it's a family joke.
While you were at...
Right. And this is her acting face. You'll see this a number of times throughout her testimony. This is the face that she tries to put on when she's like putting on her acting face, right? I don't know why this is the face, but this is the face that she likes to put on when she's performing for us or for the jury. And I guess this is a distraction, just trying to get us to be distracted by the fact that there's some inside family joke about the umbrella and the raining men nonsense, I guess. Why not? Seems as good as any other to tell us. I don't know.
Sister's house. What area of the house were you spending time in?
Yeah, I was in the kitchen.
What was the mood of everybody in the house, as far as you remember?
Everybody was in a great mood.
Was there any fighting?
No.
Any arguing?
No.
Any violence?
No.
Was it a celebratory mood?
Yes.
As you were in the house, were you waiting for anybody else that you expected to come?
Yes, I was expecting John and Karen to come.
At some point when you're in the kitchen, well, let me ask you a little background. As you're in the kitchen.
So that's true. That was true, right? Yes, I was expecting John and Karen to come. That was a true statement. Interesting. Well, watch. I'll tell you in a minute. Let her go a little bit longer here before I say anything.
Of that house, can you see outside from the kitchen area?
They had blinds or something down, but if the blinds were up, you could see out.
Were the blinds up?
No.
At any point, were you able to see outside from inside the house?
From the front door, yes.
Does the front door, is it glass?
Okay,
Yes.
So
at some point,
okay, this is a lie. So when Jennifer McCabe, this is a lie. One of her big tells when she gives you the answer at the end. So in other words, she said, I think she said when the blinds are down, yes. I think that was the answer. It doesn't matter exactly what the wording was. The point is the answer was at the end. That's not true. Now, a number of occasions she slips up and tells us that she's actually looking out the window. And again, for some reason, they insist upon her looking out at the storm door. I don't know why. I think it's absurd, but to me, it is quite clear that she was looking out, if at all, a window, not a door. But again, for some reason, this is an important detail to these people, though I can't figure out why whether she's looking out a door or a window would be so important.
Or with everybody in the celebration, did you have a chance to look outside?
Yes.
And when you looked outside, what did you see?
I saw a dark SUV out front.
Did you know whose SUV that was?
I believed it was Karen's.
Could you see who was in it?
No.
At that point of night, what does the weather look like from the front door?
It's dark and it's snowing, and I could see, brake lights.
Did you see if that SUV moved at all?
I didn't see the SUV actually move, but I saw it in a few different locations.
How many times did you look out?
Can't give you an exact number of how many times I looked out. I can tell you I saw the vehicle first straight out from the front door. Then I saw it up at the flagpole, and then I saw it further up from the flagpole.
Were you studying the car at all?
No, it was quick glances.
Right. So we know that she's rehearsed this, and actually Jennifer McCabe is pretty good with her rehearsed testimony. And this whole thing about the flagpole and looking out the front door, right, the storm door, and seeing it move up, whatever, not seeing it move, but seeing it in different locations. We know that she's rehearsed this part of her testimony quite well. Colleen Cohen, you ask an interesting question. Are you able to explain if a person's lies can actually become their truth after a while? Do they actually have themselves convinced they didn't do this? It's a great question. And the answer is no. If you think about, right, what it would take to actually believe, and this is like what psychosis looks like from a psychological perspective. Could I start to wear a lie like it's true? Sure. Could I become, like, let's say I'm Jennifer McCabe. Could I embody the character that I'm playing? Yes. But at the end of the day, when I put my head on the pillow, I know that I'm lying. I know that I'm a fraud, right? I know that I didn't really do what I'm saying I did, or vice versa. And so for somebody to actually believe the lie, truly, that would be delusional, right? That's kind of what delusion is. It means that, we are believing something that is either we believe something that is not true, or we believe, teach or convince ourselves that something that isn't true is true, right? So you would then be like teetering on psychosis. So the answer is no. And the reality is you can sense that, right? I mean, just from your own experience, we all can sense that, okay, if I really had to live a lie, let's say that, my life depended on it, or, I did something terrible and could end up in prison for the rest of my life. Could I sell the lie pretty well to the point where most of the time I'm comfortable with the performance? Absolutely. But like I said, when I lay my head on the pillow at night, of course I know I'm lying. I could get comfortable with that performance, but I'll never believe that, that it's real, because I know that it isn't, right? And if I was to start to believe it, then I would have a different problem, which is now I would be teetering on psychosis. Like, now my reality is bending and bendable, and that's, that's a pretty scary place for anybody to be. It's not a place that you would welcome, for sure. But it's a good question. Yay, Berkshire Girl, you have been with me for 4 months. I can't believe it. Holy crap. Either Jill had no idea there was corruption and was ticked, or she knew it and is scared. Absolutely. Yeah, Berkshire Girl, I think she knew it and is scared out of her mind. And I think you bring up an interesting point here, right? With Jill Daniels. I think she's protecting her family. I think that's what she was doing. I think look, did her sister murder anybody? No. Right? No. Like, was she protecting her sister? Did she want this all to just go away? I'm sure. I mean, particularly for Jill Daniels, because I think Julie Albert is a pretty anxious person anyway. She just strikes me as a pretty anxious person. Everything about her screams anxiety, and it's probably not great to now have this on your head all the time. And I would be worried about my sister if I'm Jill Daniels, right? I'd be worried about my family members. And I imagine that in their minds, if Aiden just went away, the problem would have been gone. If he just didn't exist, right? Karen could have pled out and everybody could have gone on their merry way. Humdy humdy ha. Nobody's the wiser. But that's not what happened. Right. Pull yourself together, woman. But I think that shows you, right? Like where these people's heads are at. I think they really thought they were going to get away with it. I think they really did. And they did for a while until Aiden. I mean, they did for a year, right? I mean, look, they managed to keep their names. Like even in the police report, it said 32 Fairview. It said 32 instead of 34. And nobody was going to, nobody was going to be the wiser. They certainly did not. I think they just completely and totally underestimated Karen Reed. I mean, I think that probably goes without saying, right? Didn't see her legal team coming, that's for sure. But also just didn't see, Aiden coming until he was there. Yikes. And now, could you imagine, like I said, like Yuri Buchanan is on vacation in Tampa and he's got people on the airplane sending Aiden photos of them on the plane. I just think that is just hilarious. It's like priceless. It's what you get though, right? Like don't plant evidence. Don't pin it on the girl. Hello, just do your job. Like show yourself respect. Like have integrity. Do the right thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm old fashioned. Call me crazy. You're a fucking cop. Ay. So frustrating.
Did you have any reason to study it?
No.
What were you expecting was going to happen?
I was expecting John and Karen to come into the house.
Did they ever make it in the house?
No, they did not.
As you were waiting, were you doing anything else in addition to waiting for them to come in?
Yes. So I was sitting at the table. Someone made mention of a car out front. So I got up, went to the door, looked out, and then I would go back to the table.
Oh, interesting. This is interesting. I never caught this before. So she said, yeah, so I was. So this is not true. What she's saying here right now is not true. Let's hear this again. Let me replay this.
Went to the door, looked out, and then I would go back and...
You see how she says, and then I would go back? So this is fabricated, right? She's not telling you what she did in the active voice. She's telling you as if she's like, this is what she would have done, not what she did do, not what she was doing in an active sense. So this whole part of the story is just not true.
So I got up, went to the door, looked out, and then I would go back to the table and where we were just all laughing, talking, playing music, just hanging out, not really thinking much about anything.
So there's a couple of one-sided shoulder shrugs there. Let's go back. This is all fabricated. Whatever she's saying right now, this is just not true.
Just hanging out, not really thinking much about anything.
Right. There's so much wrong with this. So we don't get a lot about what actually did happen here, but what we do get is that what she's saying is not what happened. So the fact that she's trying to say that she's sitting and laughing and just hanging out and everyone's listening to music and she's getting up and going and looking out the window, that is not what happened. Period. 100%. And I will just play it all the way through so you can hear it one more time.
Table and where we looked out, and then
sorry, here we go.
Someone made mention of a car out front, so I got up, went to the door, looked out, and then I would go back to the table and where we were just all laughing, talking, playing music, just hanging out, not really thinking much about anything.
Right. So this is not what happened. Now, of course, this is the time of the crime, right? I mean, this is an important moment because you have to figure whatever happens to John O'Keefe, it's happening around this time, whether it's inside or outside, whether Jennifer McCabe knows about what's going on or doesn't know what's going on. This would be the moment, or in the time, the window that he would have walked from the car into the house, near the house, into the garage, into the front door, 4 steps into the basement. Whatever he did, this would have been when it was.
Did you ever reach out to John when you thought the car out front was the defendant's car with John in it? Did you ever reach out to him?
Yes, I did.
How did you reach out to him?
I texted him.
Do you know if there was a phone call that was made to you before 12:30? A 7-second phone call?
From John?
Yes.
I don't.
All right, so this is interesting. There was a 12:29 phone call from her, though, to John. And the call on the call log says that it was answered. Right? So that was news to me. I don't know why I didn't catch that before recently. Like I said, I've been going down the rabbit hole a lot more extensively, just going back through this case. And I was looking much more closely at her Celebrate report, the Google reports and everything. And one of the things that I noticed was that there was a 12:29 phone call answered on John's phone from Jennifer McCabe. And I don't remember how many seconds. I think it's more than 8 seconds, though. So I don't think it's this call that Brennan is referencing. But put a pin in that. It's a 12:29 answered phone on John's phone, not on Jen's. In other words, she deleted it from her phone records.
You mentioned you had spoken to him about directions. Is that the last time you heard his voice?
Yes.
When the car was out front, did you exchange text messages or were you simply texting him?
I was texting him.
Do you remember what you were texting him?
The first time I said here.
What do you mean by here? Was that
Like
exclamation point?
here, question mark, because that's when I saw the car.
You were wondering whether that was him?
Yes.
Did you send any other text messages that you can remember?
After I saw the car move locations, when I saw it go up to the flagpole, I said, pull behind me.
And do you remember any other communications you had with him? Was he texting you anything?
No.
Did he ever text you again that night?
He never texted me again.
Never called again?
No.
Did you continue to text him over the next 15, 20 minutes?
I did, yes.
And so at some point, did you realize that John O'Keefe and the defendant weren't coming in the house?
Yes, when the car was gone.
Now, here's the reality, right? We don't know. At one point, Jennifer McCabe makes that statement that I actually put into the open, where she says to Alan Jackson, I tried to find it just before tonight, but I couldn't find it without more time. She makes the statement that whatever happened inside was separate from what happened outside. Okay, maybe that was a nothing statement, you could argue. But it did seem like it could be important just to put a pin in. The point being, it is quite possible that Jennifer McCabe was not privy to whatever was going on with John O'Keefe at this time, right? Maybe she is calling him. Maybe she is looking for him to come into the house because she did expect them to come. And she was, how excited she gets when she sees Karen and John walk into the waterfall? And she liked them. They were like bar buddies, right? She obviously wanted to hang out with them. So it's very possible that she didn't know that John had gotten out of the car and Karen does drive away. And she doesn't know that John is in or around the house, right? That is a possibility. All we know for sure is that whatever she just told us was going on is not what was going on. But that doesn't mean that she knew what happened to him in real time. Obviously, she knows what happens to him after. Whatever happens, she knows about it soon after. But we just don't know whether or not Jennifer McCabe was privy in real time to what was happening to John O'Keefe, right? That's the point. We just don't know if she knows in real time. Well, I'm glad it was a misdiagnosis. Jeez. It's tricky to diagnose. MS is tricky to diagnose. My grandmother had MS. And luckily we've got more, technology, and our understanding has grown so much, but it is very tricky to diagnose. Can be easily confused with other neurological disorders. So I'm actually glad to hear that that's not what it was, right? That's it's tricky. There's a lot of good treatment for it nowadays, but it's a tricky illness for sure. For sure.
Did you ever go outside through the storm down to the flagpole to speak to them?
No.
Why not?
Why would I?
I was just asking.
I had no reason to.
So when you were in the house, at some point, did you notice that the car was gone?
Yes.
Were you marking the time or keeping track of it?
No.
After you didn't see the defendant's car anymore, did you stay?
Yes.
How long do you think you stayed for at the house?
I stayed till about around 1:30, 1:45-ish.
Did anybody else come in the house up until 1:45?
No.
Did people leave at certain times?
Yes, people did leave.
Who was the first to leave?
Brian Higgins.
Do you remember about what time he left?
I don't.
And after Mr. Higgins left, do you know who left?
I'm not sure. I believe it was us, and then my niece Caitlin was also like at the door. It was.
She was about to screw that up there, right? She at the last second, it looks like she almost said Caitlin when he was asking about who left first, and then she remembered Brian Higgins, and she like rallied and got that in at the end, at the very last minute. Yes, so Karen McCourt sends $13.99 and says Melanie went over Jen McCabe's police statements today. Yeah, it was a eye-opening experience. And one of the lines that I actually pulled it out because I thought it was really interesting, and I don't want to necessarily get into it tonight, but the whole thing about Connor Keefe and what's her name? Kathleen Prince, right? Who I guess was a Canton cop or was a Massachusetts State police officer, then is now a Boston cop, but maybe is retired. I don't know where the hell she is now. I tried to find her. I didn't see anything on, any update about where she is or like how much her salary was. I wasn't able to find anything out about her, but very interesting what she writes down. Let me see if I can pull it up. I think I might have it right here for us. See if I can find it for you guys. It was so interesting that I did try to crop it. I think this was actually from Olivia Lambeau post on X. Let's see if I can bring it up here. So yes, here it is. This is what the trooper that takes down Jennifer McCabe's statement on February 1st. This is the same moment where she allegedly hands over the consent form for her phone to Connor Keefe, right? Here is the statement that I thought was so important. Karen then immediately yelled at Jen 2 times to Google, how long do you have to be left outside to die from hypothermia? How long? Let's look at this. How long do you have to be left outside to die from hypothermia. There's so much wrong with this sentence. It's like hard for my mind to even know where to start. But let's just say it like it is. There is no world where this is the statement that came out of Karen Reed's mouth on the morning of January 29th, right? This is not the question that you would be asking if you are trying to determine whether or not your boyfriend is going to live after being left out in the cold, right? Or after being out in the cold. How long do you have to be left outside to die from hypothermia? Remember, guys, part of why Jen McCabe's 911 call, I mean, there's so many things that are incriminating about it, but part of what makes it so incriminating is her nonstop insisting that John is dead. That would never, it's not possible. I don't know how else to say. It's not possible. There is nobody on the planet. If we're supposed to believe that Jennifer McCabe loves John O'Keefe or even likes him or even like knows him, okay? Like if it's just a loose association and somebody you maybe knew from the bar, okay, who you hung out with twice, and we are supposed to believe that you just stumbled upon that person's body 2 minutes ago, there's no world, it's not possible where you are going to insist 4 to 5 times on a 911 call that person is dead. It's just not. There it is right there. Like there is the absolute, like signed, sealed, delivered 100% Jennifer McCabe is guilty, right? Like if it wasn't already obvious, that sealed the fate for me. There's no world. It's not possible because we human beings are so death averse, we will do almost anything to avoid thinking about it. In particular, if it's someone we like or care about or love, God forbid, right? If you love somebody and you just found them on the front lawn of your sister's house, passed out, you're not calling 911 and telling them multiple times that you think that person's dead. It would never happen. Not unless you know for sure with 100% certainty that they are dead. Because in that case, what she's doing is trying to get them to see the truth, right? That her friend is already dead. That's what she wants the police to see in that situation, right? So she sealed her fate there by insisting to the cops on the 911 call that she allegedly just showed up and found John O'Keefe like 2 minutes earlier. It's not possible. There's no way that could happen. It would never happen. It's not possible. So, yes, these statements were definitely an eye opener. But for me, this 911 call, it sealed the deal like 100%. Once I heard the enhanced version of the 911 call, I said, there's absolutely no chance that Jennifer McCabe didn't already know John O'Keefe was dead. She knew 100%. Absolutely knew. Hope you guys can't see her. Hold on.
Or maybe a little more.
You mentioned that you had left the waterfall after midnight.
Yes.
And you had phone calls with Mr. O'Keefe along the way.
Yes.
Do you know that there are phone records with your text messages and phone calls in them?
Yes.
And do you know whether your phone records reflect the time of your calls with Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
And your text messages?
Yes.
So, yeah, I just want to comment on this, Twigs. Yeah, the door is full glass, unobstructed view. And also, I think it's unobstructed, and it's also like a dead center kind of view, right? Like for some reason, her and Matt make it a point repeatedly to reference like from the center door, like to the left or to the right. They continually try to use that as like a landmarker from that storm door view to try to divide the lawn between like the left side of the lawn and the right side. So I do think that for them, that seems like an important detail. But again, like I said, I mean, the whole thing, there's just no credibility. Like I said, the enhanced 911 call took any possibility, any credibility, any like notion at all, any doubt whatsoever that Jennifer McCabe is not lying her face off was blown out the window, because it is just fundamentally not possible. Not that it's not already 100% obvious that she's lying her face off, but we now know with 100% certainty there's no world. It's not possible for you to stumble upon your friend, get on a phone call, and start telling 911 that they're dead. It's just not, especially if you're out drinking with them a few hours earlier, because what would you naturally think if you stumbled upon your friend who you were out drinking with a few hours ago? What's the first thought in your mind? They're passed out drunk, right? You would never in a million lifetimes, never immediately say, oh, they're dead. Never, 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 never. Not only does she say it, she insists it. She not only insists it, she's fully 100% comfortable waiving CPR. Dispatch says, nobody wants to try CPR. And she says, no, you don't understand. He's gone. I mean, she is ready to hang up that phone. If he does not ask a follow-up question, right? At that very moment, he then says something about, where are you guys out front? Or are you right outside or something? And then she answers. But she was 100% ready to end that call with the 911 dispatch officer saying, all right, well, if anything changes, let us know. If he starts breathing, let us know. Which tells you everything you need to know about this woman. Like everything you need to know.
There's
about
nothing
this woman.
evil here.
Right. Nothing evil here. Nothing evil here. Nothing evil here, Jen.
When you were texting and Mr. O'Keefe, when the Lexus or the car was in front of the house, rather, was Mr. Higgins still there?
Yes.
What are some of the things that everybody did along that night before you left? What happened in there?
What happened inside the house?
Yeah.
Nothing. We basically just sat around the table, talked, laughed, listened to music, chit-chatted.
Celebratory?
Yes.
Was there ever any fighting?
No, none at all.
Any arguing?
None at all.
Any physical interaction?
Of course not.
No, none.
When you decided to leave that night, did you say around 1:45-ish?
Yes.
When you left around 1:45, was there any events that happened that night that would cause you unrest or excitement or your heartbeat to raise?
No.
When you decided to leave, you and your husband, where were you going to go?
We were dropping off Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson, and then we were going home.
Had you planned on dropping them off earlier in the night?
No, when we got there, Julie's brother had pulled up.
Wait a minute. That was a weird thing. Hold on a second. Let me just hear what she said there. She just worded that in a very strange way. Just want to hear what she said there.
And then we were going home. We were dropping off Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson, and then we were going home.
We were dropping off.
Had you planned on dropping them off earlier in the night?
No, when we got there, Julie's brother had pulled up to pick them up, and
I won't ask you what was said because you weren't there.
Oh, okay.
At some point, did you come to an understanding that you would give them a ride home?
Yes.
Did you offer?
Yes.
Who was going to drive home between you and your husband?
Matt drove home.
When you left, I want you to describe as you step out into the driveway or the walkway. Was it the front door or side door, if you remember?
I walked out the front door.
Is the weather like it was when you first got there?
No, it's picked up.
Tell us what you mean by it's picked up.
So let's talk about this just a little bit, right? So it's interesting, as Karen McCourt was saying a minute ago. One of the things that came out during Melanie reading some of the early statements of Jennifer McCabe and Matt McCabe and the early reports from Massachusetts State Police and some of these officers, one of the other things that came out was in the initial statement that she makes, she doesn't mention Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson. She doesn't mention that she took them home. In the very first iteration of her story, she doesn't say anything about them. I think that's to Michael Proctor. When she does mention them is in that second February 1st statement with Trooper Keefe and Kathleen Prince. Now, is that important? I don't know if it's, greatly significant. Two other things I will just mention. I think it's become very clear to me, thanks to Turtle Boy, that Julie Nagel is a diehard Albert. She is 100% all in, like bleeds blue, like she is, might as well be, I'll keep this G-rated and won't say what I'm thinking, but she's on their team. Let's just put it that way. Julie Nagel is on that team. Will do whatever they say, whatever they want. I just don't look at her and think she has much to lose, to be very honest. Sarah Levinson, I don't think it's quite that same situation with her. I've heard people say, again, this is totally a rumor. I have no idea if it's true. I have heard people say that Brian Albert, used to go to the hospital she was at and sit in the parking lot. I don't know if that's true. I have absolutely no way to know whether or not that's true. I do know that at one point she did. I read this in reports, in actual legal documents, that at one point there was a meeting on the books with the Karen Reed's investigator with Sarah Levinson. And she either, when they arrived or very shortly before they were about to meet with her, she cancels at the last minute. Again, is that important? I don't know. Could be absolutely meaningless. Did these girls see anything? I have no idea. The truth is, and I think we've all tried to suss this out, the truth is that they could have been sitting in the family room and John O'Keefe could have walked in the front door and they could have never seen him walk in. I mean, that is possible. It is possible that he walks right in the front door and the people in the family room don't ever see him. Even the people in the kitchen don't ever see him. Here's what else we know. Here's like the only thing that we know with absolute certainty. And you know how we know this? Because it comes from Brian Albert's mouth. Brian Albert and Brian Higgins are separated from the group at some point. How do we know? Because Brian Albert puts himself upstairs in his son's bedroom with Brian Higgins. Now, Brian Higgins doesn't do that. He lies to us, or one of them is lying. I'm going to go ahead and assume it's Brian Higgins in this particular instance, although I guess they're both lying. But the reason I say that is because Brian Higgins is telling us that he's in the family room with Brian Albert looking at pictures of Brian Albert's son in the Marines. Nicole is telling us that we're looking at pictures of Brian Albert when he was in the Marines in the family room. And Brian Albert has him and Brian Higgins upstairs in his son's bedroom, who has newly enlisted in the Marines, right? Okay. So which of those do we think is most likely true? Well, the fact that Brian Albert has them completely removed from the group is what makes me more apt to believe that story, right? Because he's got them separated and away from everybody else. Well, what is the purpose of that statement if it's not to separate them from the group? Right? What is the whole purpose of the stupid story about them looking at pictures in the family room if it is not to make them separate and distinct somewhere else away from everybody else, right? That's why I'm more apt to believe that Brian Albert's story is closer to the truth because it actually physically separates them from everybody else. Meanwhile, Caitlin Albert tries to tell us, Caitlin Albert, her entire testimony is just total bullshit. Her interest in and they're just egregiously bad liars also, but it's just like, it's like stupid. It's like insulting really. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is she tells us, no, her father never leaves her line of sight the entire night, which is undermined by the fact that Brian Albert tells us he leaves her line of sight to go upstairs in his son's bedroom. The whole thing is so absurd. But the point is, why is any of this important? It's important because the two of them are separated from the rest of the group. And there's no other reason to separate them from the rest of the group, right? But because they are separate from, right? Now, one of the stories that we could run with here, we're separating Brian Higgins and Brian Albert from the group. From Brian Higgins' statement, which I have not done any kind of real in-depth analysis of in a long, long time, and not in any kind of length, right? I just took a segment of his statement and did a couple of videos on it that were important, but I never did an in-depth analysis with you guys. But I have before spent a lot of time on Brian Higgins. Maybe I spent more time listening to Brian Higgins than any other person in this trial. And thinking back on that now, one of the things that's really important about Brian Higgins' testimony is that he comes inside the house after everybody else, right? That's one of the things that after a lot of trying to parse out what's true and who's telling what truth, one of the things that does seem like it is true is that Brian Higgins came into the house separately and after Nicole and Brian Albert, right? And Caitlin, because they all come home at around the same time. Could Brian Higgins have been waiting outside for John O'Keefe? Yes. Is that feasible? It is. Could something have happened in the driveway? And that's what the plow story is about, trying to remove evidence from the driveway. Yes, right? Of course. Why does Brian Higgins insist upon telling us that he's plowing a driveway before there's snow in that driveway? Why is that story so important to tell us? The only thing that I can think is maybe they thought there could be, a camera somewhere that shows us that he's plowing the driveway at that time. And to try to account for that, he insists upon telling us he plowed the driveway, right? He did the sweep of the driveway. You guys remember that. So is it plausible that Brian Higgins is outside waiting for John and that is what happens? And it is separate and distinct and apart from everybody inside the house? Yes, that is possible. Is that what happened? I don't know, but is that possible? Yes. Does that at least align with what Brian Higgins is saying and based on a very long-standing and thorough assessment of his testimony? Yes. Is that true? I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that's true? I don't know. Thank you, Amanda.
So as I walk out, you kind of go, the walkway is to the left. So I walk down the steps, I go to the left. The snow was coming, it was cold, the wind was picking up. So I kind of just like curled up and ran to my car quick to get in.
What part of the car did you get into?
Front passenger.
Who was driving?
Matt.
And where were the other two people?
Sarah and Julie were in the back seat.
Who was in which spot?
I'm not exactly sure.
So both of the young women were in the back seat?
Yes.
Was there any conversation when you got into the car?
We got in the car and they were teasing me.
Why were they teasing you?
Because I had like bread and maybe peanut butter in my car.
Why did you have bread and peanut butter in your car?
I had my niece for the week, and I was dragging her like to all my kids' sporting events. So we'd go from like one game to another game to a practice. So sometimes instead of always giving her McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts, I'd try to throw her a peanut butter sandwich.
And they were making fun of you?
Yeah.
As the car backs out of the driveway, tell us what you're doing.
I'm talking to the girls.
You just moved your head.
Yes.
Does that mean anything?
Yes.
How?
They were both sitting behind me. So I was like turning and, chatting and talking.
So I will just tell you that the vast majority of the times where Jennifer McCabe does this whole starts moving her body and flailing her arms around and sort of trying to use her hands to communicate that she was doing something the way I might, it's bullshit. In the times that I can remember right now off the top of my head where I have seen her start using her body to try to evidence, it's when she's making a story up, not when she's recalling from memory something that happened. I can only tell you that's what I've seen up to this point. I don't know whether or not that means that this story right now about the peanut butter and this whole with the Jeep, I don't know if that means that this is fabricated. It seems like such a worthless waste of time to make this story up. But I guess if you're trying to cover up a murder, it's as good a story as any. I don't know.
After your husband pulls out of the driveway, do you start to drive home?
Yes.
If the house is on my right and you're driving, are you in the passenger seat closest to the house or furthest away?
Passenger seat closest.
So you're driving, if you look at a picture of the house, you would be driving from right to left?
Yes.
So as you start to drive or your husband starts to drive the car, what direction are you looking in if you remember?
The back seat.
Did you drive by the front of the house, do you know?
We pulled out of the driveway and went up Chapman.
Okay. And your husband and you passed by the front of the house?
Yes.
Did you pass by the flagpole?
Yes.
Were you looking at the flagpole?
No.
And how dark was it at that point?
It was dark.
Snow?
Yes.
As you're passing the flagpole, do you hear or see anything remarkable?
No, I'm not really paying attention. I'm just chatting to the girls, and Matt's just focusing on driving.
Yeah.
When you're talking to the girls and they're making fun of you, what's the mood in the car?
We're all laughing and joking.
Where do you go next?
We drive Julie Nagel home.
After you drop off Miss Nagel, where do you go?
We drop off Sarah Levinson.
Is the weather constant?
Yes.
After you drop off the young woman in separate spots, where do you go?
We went home.
So one thing that would be interesting, I'm sure her cell phone, right? I mean, her location data is on the phone. So, I mean, I'm assuming, I've not actually looked at the location data on her cell phone, but it is, I think, accessible for anyone to look at. I mean, my guess is that she must have at the very least taken them home, because we would be able to see if that wasn't true. That's my guess. So that part of the story probably is true, simply because we do have the location data from her phone.
When you get home, what happens next?
We go in the house. I go up to bed. Matt makes himself a snack and then joins me upstairs.
Do you have a telephone?
Yes.
An iPhone?
Yes.
When you go to bed, do you stay up at all?
Yes.
Do you use your iPhone?
Yes, I do.
What were you doing?
I texted a few people and then I did a couple of Google searches.
And what were the searches for?
One, my daughter had played in a basketball game earlier in the night and it was a very good game. So I went and I read the report on it. And then my other daughter.
You can almost see, I mentioned this earlier, but you can, first of all, look at her eyes right now, right? I mean, you can see that she's trying to remember what the fabricated story was, not what happened at that time, right? Like when people are trying to remember something that actually happened, they look up like into their mind almost, right? They look up and back. She's looking out in front because she's manufacturing. She's trying to remember what the story is, not what actually happened. And this is the rehearsed statement. She's, like I've said before, she's pretty good at the rehearsed statements. You got to give her credit for that. Like she remembers them pretty well and she's able to kind of like, you know, she can get through them without stumbling. Brian Higgins is like the exact opposite. He's terrible at these rehearsed statements. It's almost like he doesn't realize how important they are. And then when he goes to say them, they come out completely like backwards. It reminds me of Commissioner Cox. Like Commissioner Cox was so arrogant that he just figured he'd be able to lie on the fly and, you know, maybe had in his mind a couple of lines about what he would say when he was asked about the Karen Reed stuff. And then when he was asked, like he just fumbled it the worst way you could ever fumble it. And yeah, you guys heard how that came out. That man's never going to live that down. I mean, he just it couldn't be any worse. He completely screws up his statement. She's pretty good with the rehearsed statements. They basically like save her ass throughout these, you know, 2 trials. But you can tell they have like the best way I can think to say it is like they have a sing-songy quality. She like almost, she goes into like a different mode when she goes into the rehearsed statements. You can really see it on cross. It's a little harder to see on direct because so much of it is a rehearsed story. So it's hard to see the discrepancies or the distinctions. But when Jackson gets involved, you can see like back to back when she flips in and out of these like rehearsed stories. And you can really see how like her demeanor changes when she's like rehearsing. It's wild. It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
I had an offer to play on a basketball team. So
I mean,
we
this
had to
is
make a
just
decision about whether or
crazy.
not we were going to accept the spot. So I was just looking up that basketball club.
Other than those,
Right. She was just looking up. That's all he was doing was just looking up that basketball club. Now, of course, this is likely a story that has a kernel of truth in it from days before, as we know. And now, and of course, thanks to the work of Aussie Insider and somebody who has the capacity to, you know, really dig into this kind of computer data, into the coding, into the SQL, and into the evidence that the very arrogant Ian Whiffen and Jessica Hyde put forth. So arrogant, these two. Think about these two. So arrogant that they actually present the evidence to us that like tells us that Jennifer McCabe absolutely, somebody went into the extraction report and completely screwed with it. I mean, 100%. They present that evidence to us directly, but they are so arrogant that they think we'll never figure it out because the rest of the world is just that stupid. Like we are all just so dumb that we're never going to figure out that if we take Ian Whiffen's reports from over here and over here and over here and over here, and we put it into one document, oh, you mean what he was saying isn't true? Wait, did somebody screw with the extraction report? Wait, it's not all one tab? Wait. Oh my God. Oh, it's so painful. It's just so painful. And I guess the truth is, if he had just kept his mouth shut, we may never have figured it out. It's just so bad. So bad. All right.
Those regular searches that one would do, was there anything remarkable about what you were searching at 2:27 that time frame?
No.
Look at her
After
trying
you were
so
looking
hard to
at
keep a straight
websites for
face.
your child sports, what did you do?
I put my phone down and went to sleep.
And up until that point, had there been any discord or fighting or arguments in your world?
No.
Peaceful night?
Yes.
Did you go to sleep, Miss McKay?
Yes.
Did you sleep through the night?
I typically get up to go to the bathroom, so that I could have gotten up possibly to go to the bathroom.
This to me is such a tell. This is such a tell. Did you sleep through the night, Miss McCabe? Okay. Did you sleep through the night? Just in case we have her Apple Health data, right? I mean, think about what this is. We have her Apple Health data just in case somebody looks at that Apple Health data and figures out that she's not sleeping. She wants to make sure that all of her bases are covered. And so she tells us that she got up in the middle of the night to maybe use the bathroom because she does that sometimes. Like, really? If you're gonna lie anyway, Jen, just lie. Right? Like, why do you have to tell us that you went to the bathroom? All you do is lie. Like, the whole thing is bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were Googling how long to die in the cold. Hello? Like, now you have to make up a story about getting up to pee just in case somebody looks at the Apple Health data and realizes that you never went to sleep because you were Googling how long it took for John to feign being dead in the cold. I mean, because he was dead. He was way dead. He died from a skull fracture, from multiple skull fractures, very likely from the force related to a fight. Okay, that's what happened. There was no hypothermia anywhere on the man's body. They threw him outside so that it would look like hypothermia, so that nobody would realize he was dead right away. And that worked because the medical examiner, I mean, who knows? Is she just a fucking moron that couldn't figure out that there was no signs of hypothermia? Was she just trying to appease the Massachusetts State Police because they were up her ass trying to get her to say that it was a homicide? Was that a way to split the difference? I don't know. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. But there was no hypothermia. Okay. John O'Keefe did not die of hypothermia because there was no hypothermia. He was dead. Dead. And Jennifer McCabe knew it. 100%. 100%. Without a doubt, knew he was gone. When did she find out he was gone? Could it have been at 2:27 or like 2:20? Did she just find out? Probably not. She probably knows before she leaves the Albert's house, right? That's probably what happens. Oh, it's so frustrating. Ginny, how do you say that? Ginny Xanag? How do you say this? Ginny Xanakis Peron? What does that say? Jenny, you've been a member for a month. Welcome. When do you think Carrie Roberts figured it out? That's a great question. I don't think Carrie Roberts figured it out at all. No, I don't think. I think, you know what, Carrie Roberts is an interesting character in all this. First of all, I was surprised recently. I went back and I analyzed her testimony. She does a lot more fabricating. She doesn't, no, I don't want to say that. It's not fabrication. It's deception. She does a lot more white lying. I don't know how else to say it. Like, she does some white lying to try to cover for her friend Jen quite a bit. Like, she makes it a point to say, for example, you know, we willingly turned over our phones. Like, it's like me and my friend Jen, right? So look, in my mind, it seems like Jennifer McCabe successfully manipulated Carrie Roberts to such a degree that Carrie Roberts really believes Jennifer McCabe is innocent, doesn't know anything about what happened to John. To me, it really seems like Carrie Roberts thinks that Karen Reed did this. Now, the difference, and I will make this, I believe, from everything that Carrie Roberts has said, and this is interesting because it's so different, and I wanted to show you guys this tonight. It's so different from Jennifer McCabe. Where they differ is on two very important points. One, Carrie Roberts very much believes publicly that Karen Reed did not hurt John on purpose. Okay. She makes it a point to say that whatever happened, Karen Reed didn't do it on purpose, that it was an accident. So from Carrie Roberts' view, now the reason why she makes that clear is because Carrie Roberts saw how nuts Karen Reed was that morning. So she knows, like, there's no way that Karen did anything on purpose. She saw that she was totally flipped out, right? So Carrie Roberts, in her own mind, believes it was an accident. Whatever, that Karen Reed did this and it was an accident, okay? Carrie Roberts has also made it clear that a piece was missing from the taillight. At the taillight, that there was a piece pushed in, okay? So that there was like part of the taillight was pushed in and a piece was sticking out. This is where they diverge because according to Jennifer McCabe, pieces are missing from the taillight. And she doesn't make it as clear, make it as obvious that she doesn't think that Karen Reed did something on purpose. In fact, she has to tell us about Bella, right? She has to make it a point to, on a number of occasions, make it sound nefarious. The other thing that Jennifer McCabe does that is distinct and very different from Carrie Roberts, Jennifer McCabe lies to us on a number of occasions, and Carrie Roberts tries to set the record straight, though I don't think Carrie Roberts is listening to Jennifer McCabe's testimony. So I don't think Carrie Roberts knows what Jennifer McCabe testified to. So I don't think she's heard this. I don't think she knows about the colluding texts that everybody's got behind her back, right? That Matt is sending to, Brian Albert and Nicole Albert, and she's telling him everything. I don't think she knows about that because this is her friend. So the last thing that Carrie Roberts wants to do is go digging down the rabbit hole of whether Jennifer McCabe is an evil, horrible monster that has befriended her and is really responsible in any way, shape, or form, or has any knowledge of the death of John O'Keefe. Like, no world where Carrie Roberts is going down that rabbit hole, period. That is an impossibility for her, right? This is her best friend. Do you have a best friend? Like, imagine believing that best friend is responsible for, like, I don't want to say, Jen didn't murder John O'Keefe, but she knows who did. She knows exactly what happened to him. Right? It's very screwed up, you guys. It's very screwed up. So I don't think Carrie Roberts figured it out at all. I just don't. Because you know why? Carrie Roberts is like, Carrie Roberts is like one of these people who's like a good girl, right? Like she's not like a lawbreaker or a rule breaker. Like she's like a law-abiding citizen, right? Like John was a really good friend. If she just there's no way that she knows that Karen Reed is not responsible for this. No way. None. No way. I just don't think that like she'd be cool with it. I really don't. I don't know how anyone could be. You know, those people believe that Karen Reed did this. They believe it. They really do. They believe it wholeheartedly. And not only that, but I mean, the O'Keefe family believes that Karen Reed intentionally tried to manipulate Kaylee in some way to hurt her. I mean, it's just it's absurd. It's like beyond absurd. It makes no sense. It's not even logical, right? So the answer to that is I don't think she figured it out. I don't think she's ever going to. And it's similar to the O'Keefes. Why? Because she's going to need like somebody to show up at her door with like the most concrete proof a person could have and like spell it out for her to believe that her best friend is a lying monster. Because that's what you'd have to, it's hard. I don't know. I would not want to be Carrie Roberts. I think that she really loved John, right? It's horrible. This Jennifer McCabe, do you realize like she actively like says she cares about John's niece and nephew? Think about how horrible this is. Like, yeah. It's really, really bad. It's like really, really bad. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like the worst of the worst. How could you do that? How could you know what happened to their father, the only father that they've ever known, and like go to their house and like have your children play with them or, go do things together and like act like you care about them? I don't know. To me, I would just move. I would like take my whole family. I think like didn't Nicole and Brian Albert just buy like a cabin in Maine? See, to me, I think Brian Albert's probably got the right idea here. Like he's the one, they sold the house right away. They got rid of their dog. They got away with it somehow, right? He laid low, stayed out of like the, kind of stayed out of the public sphere for the most part. Now they've got this cabin up in Maine. Like that's probably the right idea. Like just go hide, like abscond, right? But to like actively befriend John's like whole family and friends, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Oh my God, it's so horrible. Sorry, I can't. I can't even. This is why Jennifer McCabe's testimony is so hard, because it's just, what kind of a horrible monster do you have to be doing this?
Did anything remarkable happen in the early morning hours of January 29, 2022 that changed that peaceful mood into something else?
Yes.
I want you to share with the jury the first thing that happens that changes everything.
At 4:53, my phone rings and I look at my caller ID. I look at the phone and it's Kaylee, John's niece. And I say hello, and she said, yeah, well, basically she relayed to me that, next question.
When you pick up the phone, could you hear a voice on the other end?
I heard a voice and a lot of screaming.
And the voice you heard, is that Kaylee, John's niece?
Yes.
And the screaming, was it a man or a woman screaming?
It was a woman.
How loud was that person screaming?
Very loud.
Could you make out anything that person was saying as they were screaming?
My name was screamed a lot.
Can I just say, I mean, is this just so obvious? To me, there's one person throughout this entire story, no matter who's telling the story, that is so obviously concerned about John. There's only one person who, no matter who's talking, is so worried about John O'Keefe that they're screaming, they're crying, they're losing their shit. And it's not Carrie, and it's not Jen. It's just saying, there's only one person who is really worried, genuinely worried, hysterical, so worried. And it's never anybody but Karen Reed. And for some reason, she's the one that the family thinks is like the bad guy. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like Carrie is like fighting with her on the front lawn of the house, like screaming at her. Like, shut the fuck up, right? Jennifer McCabe thinks that's hilarious. That's so funny. And somehow the O'Keefe family embraces this monster. Like, what kind of delusional universe do you have to live in to not see that is not okay? Like, it's not funny. There's no world where this is funny. You're supposed to have walked up and found your love. Oh, I love this man so much. Found him dead. And in the middle of the courtroom, you're fucking laughing at the idea of stumbling upon his dead body on your sister's front lawn and Karen flipping out, his girlfriend hysterical because she thinks he's dead. This is funny. It causes a visceral outburst by Jennifer McCabe. And nobody thinks that that's screwed up. No, totally normal. The O'Keefe family thinks that it's Karen Reed who's out to get Kaylee. It just, I don't know. It just doesn't make, I don't see it. I don't understand. I just don't see it. How many times did she call looking for John? 53, 56?
And then the other individual ended up getting on the phone with me.
And who was that person that was screaming in the background?
Miss Reed.
How long was she screaming for while you were speaking to your niece before you spoke to her?
Wasn't her niece?
The entire time I was speaking to Kaylee, she was screaming.
Describe her demeanor.
Miss Reed's?
Yes.
Jen! And then she's screaming that John didn't come home. She left him at the waterfall. She was hysterical. It was very hard to follow what she was saying.
How long did that first call last for?
I'm not sure how long, maybe possibly a few minutes, but it was loud enough and long enough that my husband shot up in bed thinking one of my kids had come in the room screaming.
Right. Of course.
Without saying what your niece said, could you describe your niece's demeanor?
It's not her niece.
Spoke to her? I mean, John's niece's demeanor.
Ugh.
I would say Kaylee sounded concerned, uneasy.
During that phone call, other than the screaming and the screaming of your name, did the defendant give you any information other than she had dropped John off at the waterfall?
They'd gotten into a fight. She had left him there and he didn't come home.
And when you were woken up, were you in a sleep when you were woken up?
Yes, I was sound asleep.
What was your mental state like when you first woke up and got that call?
Well, I had been up late. I had taken my medication that I take for my MS, so I was definitely a bit groggy when I first woke up. So immediately I just wanted to help her. She was hysterical. Kaylee was upset. So I went into that kind of mom mode of what can I do? How can I help? So I immediately was like thinking, okay, well, if you left him at the waterfall, let me think how.
All right. This is all the classic rehearsed mode. So just like mentally take a photo of what you're seeing right now, because this is like classic Jen McCabe rehearsal right now. Oh, let me think. And oh, who can I think of? Oh, Tom Beatty. I mean, it's just absolute absurdity is what it is.
Who was still there or? how can I help you? How can we find John?
How can I
Did you have a
help
plan
you,
when you ended
Karen?
that first call?
I did. I knew Chris Albert had still been at the waterfall when I left. So I thought if Karen and John had gotten into a fight, maybe Chris had walked out of the bar and Chris lived local to the bar, thought maybe they walked back to Chris's together.
So what did you do?
So I called Chris Albert's wife, Julie.
Did you speak to her?
No, she never answered.
After you had a moment to make a phone call and think about things, did your head become any more clearer?
It did. And I was, reminded by my husband that we had seen Karen and John's car outside of Fairview.
When he reminded you, did you independently remember the text messages that you sent to John earlier that evening?
Immediately, I was like, oh my God, you're right.
Did you remember that you had seen what you believed to be the defendant's car in front of the house and near the flagpole?
Remember what I was saying about when people recount conversations? Oh my God, you're right. That is just 100% false. Well, there it is. And if she hears Alan Jackson objecting, that's why you see this face on her right there, which is kind of funny. But pay attention closely here, because I want to play a clip from Carrie Roberts, which directly ends up giving us a different account from Ms. McCabe's in just a minute.
Watch the form.
Okay. What did you remember? What came to mind after you spoke to your husband about your memory from earlier that evening?
The minute he said it, I remember seeing the SUV and then all the text messages that I had and the phone conversation with John.
So after the defendant spoke to you and said she had left the defendant at the waterfall and you had time to think about your memories, did you react or do anything with that?
Yes, I believe I called Kaylee back.
Why did you call Kaylee?
I didn't have Miss Reed's phone number.
When you called Kaylee back, did you speak to anybody?
Yes, I believe Kaylee and then Miss Reed.
When you first spoke to Kaylee, could you hear anything other than Kaylee?
The screaming.
Was it any different, or was it similar to the first time you spoke by phone?
Similar to the first time.
Regarding the demeanor or intensity, had it changed at all?
Not at all.
You mentioned the first time that you had that phone call, the defendant was screaming your name. Jen,
Yes.
Jen. Was she saying your name in the second call, or was it just general screaming?
My name. And then when she got on the phone, I had told her, Karen, I saw you guys outside of my sister's house. And then she told me she didn't remember being there. And then she went on to say, she started saying, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? I don't.
Of course.
And then she just was just all over the place, like screaming my name, screaming so many different things. She was hard to follow or understand.
When she was saying to you, did I hit him? Could have I hit him? Was that before or after you informed her that you had seen her out front of your sister's house?
It was after I told her that. She also informed me that she had cracked her taillight.
In that conversation, she told you that?
In one of the conversations I had with her in my bedroom, yes.
When you told her that you had seen her out front, she had said that she didn't remember that night. Was that before or after she was saying, did I hit him? Could have I hit him?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
She was telling you about that she didn't remember that night. Was that before or after you had told her about seeing her car?
When I said I saw her at Fairview, then her response was she didn't even remember going there.
One-sided shoulders.
Did she ever deny that she came to Mr. O'Keefe's house? I mean, to your sister's house?
No.
When she told you or said to you, did I hit him or could have I hit him or something like that, did you have any idea what she was talking about?
No, I didn't pay attention to it.
When she told you that she had cracked her taillight the night before, did that have any significance at that time to you?
No.
So in telling you these different things, did you ever piece them together at that time?
No.
What was your primary motivation at that point?
Well, just FYI, that's not what she tells Jackson under cross-examination. So just keep that in mind. She did figure it out, though, according to her, when she's talking to Alan Jackson on cross-examination. She solved the whole thing that morning, at 6:20 a.m.
Wanted to help her because she was hysterical. Kaylee was very upset, so I wanted to help her, and I wanted to find John.
Of course
So
you
after she
did.
told you these things about whether she could have did hit her in the light and not remembering, did the conversation end or did it progress?
At some point, I was then going into like, okay, well, if she brought him there and left him there, where was he? Because he never came in the house, and she doesn't know where he is. So now, where could he be? So I started thinking there was another gentleman that was supposed to meet us out at the bar who John was friends with. So I thought, okay, well, in my head, I'm thinking maybe they got into a fight. John got out of the car and he connected with this guy because he was at a party on the street.
What was that person's name?
His name is Tom Beatty.
Did you call him?
Yes.
Did you get a chance to speak to him that night?
That morning?
Yes.
No.
Did you call around anywhere else?
I believe I called my sister. I called John. I called Tom Beatty. I called his daughter.
You called John O'Keefe's phone?
Yes.
Did he answer?
No.
Did it go right to voicemail?
I don't remember.
Did you text anybody?
I honestly don't remember if I texted. I primarily think I was just trying to call as many people as I could and try to figure out what happened.
So you had two conversations at this point with the defendant while you were still home.
Yes.
Was there any further phone calls that you had before you did something?
I'm not sure if I know I went downstairs to make coffee because my plan was to go with my husband. I said, come on, let's just go over to Tom Beatty's. Let's see. Maybe John's there. He passed out on the couch.
Of course.
I'm not sure.
Right. So this is not true. Obviously, we know that she does tell Karen, come over here and we'll go looking for him. Right. Now, she doesn't want to tell you that or us that because then it makes it look like she's trying to drive the direction of where they're about to go next, right? And that's really important. So one of those objectives, like I mentioned in the beginning, one of her very important objectives for this part of her testimony is to make it clear, and for Hank Brennan to make it clear, Jennifer McCabe was just a passenger during this part of the whole thing. Carrie Roberts is the take charge kind of gal who jumps into the driver's seat and she's the one directing where they're going. Not Jen. Jen is just a passenger. Karen, for some reason, just shows up at her house. Right? But she's not the one driving where they're going at all. She doesn't make any suggestions, and she's just Carrie Roberts is the one who's in charge. The funny thing about that, though, is that Carrie Roberts has a slightly different version of how this whole thing goes down. And it's interesting, like, where the discrepancy lies, right? It's interesting where specifically they differ in terms of what actually happens at this very specific part of the sequence of events. So let's see where we are here.
If Karen called me again or not. It's a little foggy because there was so many calls and everything.
Grace.
And so that morning when you're receiving calls, did something happen?
Karen showed up at my house.
How did you know Karen showed up?
She just showed up?
I could hear her screaming out front.
And about what time is this?
Approximately 5.
Let's
5:20, 5:30. I can't be sure.
Were you worried for John at this point?
Why the hell? Why would Karen show up at Jen McCabe's house? Why would Karen just show up at Jen McCabe's house Do we really believe that? Like, based on what you know about these two people, does anybody really believe that Jennifer McCabe didn't say to Karen Reed, come here and we'll go look for him? Like, is there anyone alive who still believes that that isn't true? That is actually what she told Michael Proctor. That is exactly the story that Michael Proctor writes down the day that this happens. And seeing as we know he doesn't have any real creativity, my guess is he did not have the presence of mind to fabricate. He didn't know anything about these people. Wouldn't have any reason to invent that Jennifer McCabe, tells Karen to come over to her house or not. So if Jennifer didn't say that, why would Michael Proctor have written it down? Right? I mean, of course that's what happened. It's just so absurd that she has to lie about it. It's just so absurd. But she has to lie about it. Why? Why is it so important? Because again, remember, one of her key objectives about this morning and her testimony is making sure that we all understand she was a passenger. She's not in charge, because we can't know that she's in charge of making sure that they go to 34 Fairview to look for John, right? We can't know that. That's the key, right? The key is, well, yeah, it wasn't me. I didn't know that, if we were going to find John at my sister's house. How would I know? So she wants nothing to do with being responsible for how they wind up back at 34 Fairview. But this is the thing that these people do over and over again. Because they are trying to actively drive the narrative, they wind up hiding shit that doesn't need to be hidden. They wind up doing the improbable or even the impossible over and over and over again, which is what makes it so obvious that they're lying. They overshoot the mark again and again and again. Jen, in her absurd rehearsed statements that by now are they're absurd. They teeter on ridiculous beyond ridiculous, right? Like with the peanut butter, it's it's really tough. It's tough to take. She's really tough to take, this woman.
Not particularly, no.
Were you screaming?
No.
Now, at this point, this moment when you hear her outside of your house yelling, early morning hours, did you know a person by the name of Kerry Roberts?
I knew of her. I'd met her once.
Were you friends with her at that time?
No.
Had you socialized with her at that time?
No.
Had you ever seen her before with John?
Once.
Tell me about that.
Years earlier, as I said earlier, I used to take Kaylee on Friday nights, and Kerry would.
So this is interesting. I had never thought about this till right now. Probably Jennifer McCabe doesn't consider or calculate that there's going to be a Kerry Roberts, right? She doesn't know that while Karen is calling her and Jen is saying, oh, just come here and we'll go look for John, that she's also simultaneously calling Kerry Roberts, because Kerry Roberts is John's other friend. These two were not friends, right? So Karen was calling the two women in John's life because in Karen's mind, after what had happened on New Year's, Karen's thinking, well, maybe these two women in his life would know if John's with another woman. His two female friends would know. So she's calling them thinking that they would know where John was. But they don't really know each other, right? So Jen doesn't know anything about Carrie and doesn't know that Carrie's going to pull up in front of her house and that she is another variable on this morning. It had to be a very interesting morning for Jen McCabe as this is all unfolding, right? Because she's not supposed to know where John is.
Was the one who would take Patrick on Friday night. So we would each have the kids. And to thank us, one day John told us how he got a discount at Reebok and to get our kids' shoe sizes, and he was going to buy us all sneakers, just as a way to say thank you for helping. So we all went to the store together, and then John took Kerry and myself to the hillside for lunch.
How many years before this moment was that?
Oh gosh. Well, I think that's when my daughter was in kindergarten or first grade, and at this point she was in 8th grade. So like 7 years.
Had you ever spent any other time with Kerry Roberts before this morning?
No.
Were you friends at that point?
No.
How would you consider your relationship with Miss Roberts on that morning when Miss Reed arrived to your home?
I had met her once, and that was the extent of it. I wouldn't say I knew her at all beyond that one time I went out with her.
And why don't you take us back now to when you first hear the defendant in your driveway yelling? When you hear that, do you hear any words, or is it general yelling?
Yeah. So I hear yelling. So I was downstairs making coffee. I go to my front door and I open it, and she's screaming, Jen! She's screaming that 3 times, and then she was saying, "We have to go to Fairview." A lot of the could I have hit him? Did I?
You have to go to Fairview. All right, so this is really important because Jennifer McCabe. This is again one of the agenda items, right? One of her big agenda items is making sure that everybody hears Karen Reed keeps saying, "We have to go to Fairview. We have to go to Fairview." Because remember, the difference between Kerry Roberts and Jen is trying to actively pin this on Karen Reed, right? Again, this is where they differ. Kerry Roberts doesn't think Karen Reed did this on purpose or even was aware that she did it. She believes this was an accident. Okay. Jennifer has to try to pin it on Karen Reed. So she has to assign a nefarious motive. So the whole time, Jen is trying to convince us that Karen keeps saying, "We got to go to Fairview. We got to go to Fairview." The only problem with this is where Kerry Roberts comes along and kind of spoils things a little bit for Jen, right? For her good pal and buddy. So let me see if I can pull this up here. We're going to take you off the screen for a minute here.
McCabe's driveway.
Not long. We were just, I pulled in and then we stopped, and then the next plan, at some point in that conversation as well, or maybe on the ride, because now we're heading to John's house to drop a car off. I pulled out of the driveway, Jen pulled out, and I followed behind all the way to John's house. And at some point, Karen said, "I left him at Waterfall." And I heard Jen say, "No, I saw you pull up in front of my sister's."
Was any?
So I'm just going to play that one more time so you hear it clearly. Remember, so what happens here is Kerry Roberts pulls up and is in front of Jen McCabe's house, right? And is on the phone with Karen Reed because Kerry didn't know where Jen's house was. So and it's like 4 minutes down the street. I mean, she literally lives 4 minutes from Jennifer McCabe at this time. I don't know if this is still where they all live. I guess so. So she's on the phone. This is right there on the speakerphone through the Bluetooth. And so Kerry hears what's going on between Jen and Karen in their car because, right, Jen is driving Karen's car over to John's house. And so Kerry hears what is going on in the car. And this is what she hears being said.
A ride, because now we're heading to John's house to drop a car off. I pulled out of the driveway, Jen pulled out, and I followed behind all the way to John's house. And at some point, Karen said, "I left him at Waterfall." And I heard Jen say, "No, I saw you pull up in front of my sister's."
Right. So Jen McCabe is telling us that while she's on the phone with Karen Reed, right? While they're on the phone, before Karen is in front of the house, that's when this conversation is happening. That's when Karen is saying, I left him at the waterfall. And she's like, no, you were in front of my sister's, right? That's not at all when that conversation happens. That conversation doesn't happen until they're driving to One Meadows and Carrie is listening on the speaker, right? So just another example of Jen McCabe lying again and again. Another just completely fabricated, nonsensical bullshit story. And this is what I mean, right? I guarantee you guys, I guarantee this. I can tell you with 100% certainty this right now, that if Carrie Roberts stopped for 10 minutes and just stopped and thought about her friend Jen, and just started reflecting on some of the like little anomalies, the moments over the years that just seemed odd, the little moments where a story that Jen said just like didn't quite add up, right? A look that she caught between Nicole and Jen at a barbecue, wherever, catching her in some little white lie. Maybe she happens to catch a moment of Jen's testimony over here, over there, or hears about some text messages from another friend. I guarantee you that if Carrie Roberts sat down and went through the checklist, she could figure it out very, very easily. That she's being played. And that she's been played all along. But I'll tell you, I can't say that I've had this kind of situation, but there was a situation when I was in college. I was out in Montana. You know, if you've ever lived out in a place like Montana, I love Montana, by the way. I'm not saying anything bad about it. It is a beautiful, beautiful place, like heaven on earth. And if you're a mountain person and you like snow, it truly is like a heaven on earth. If I had a doppelganger, one of my doppelgangers would be there right now. But I had some friends in college who were, let's just say, shady and did some shady things. And there were some moments when I'm sitting around with some friends and we're kind of thinking about some things that were going on at the time. And I'm going to be very cryptic, and there was like this moment of like, you know what? Something's not right, right? Something very shady is going on here, right? And it's like a scary moment when you realize that you have invited people into your life who are being very actively dishonest with you. Now, that was, stupid college stuff, right? Like, some had to do with some friends and some weed, right? I mean, whatever, something stupid college stuff. Young little, like 19-year-old Sam. This is not that, right? This is very serious. And I can only imagine that it would be soul crushing, like devastation on a level that I probably can't even really understand. But I don't think that Carrie Roberts is stupid. I don't think she is. I think if she sat and really thought about it for any length of time at all, she would be able to point to probably 20 moments over the past 4 years where she could point right to moments of deception, moments of dishonesty, moments of doubt, instances where she maybe caught a look or caught a lie or caught something that just gave her a bad feeling. I mean, all you can do is just keep pointing it out, right? That's all we can do. Just keep pointing it out and hope that somebody eventually brings these people the evidence to show them what really happened here, because this is just like, it's just flat out flagrant injustice that cannot be okay. It just can't be okay. I had somebody, I'm going to go back to the testimony in a minute, but I just wanted to say this. Somebody was, and I've said a lot of this before. I'm sure some of you have heard it, but it's been many, 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 many videos since I've mentioned or spoken about why Karen Reed did not do this, right? Like, because that was so long ago and we're so far away from that. But I just want to mention this for anybody that's still thinking, oh, well, maybe Karen did hit him. Or the thing is, Karen is in her mid 40s. Okay. And Karen has a history of arguing with John. And, you know, it's not hidden. They were in the midst of I don't know if they were actually at the breakup point. I think that's probably very debatable. I could make an argument just as easily based on their attachment styles that they were going to be together for another 9 months, right? So, but certainly their relationship was not in a great place, right? She's texting with Higgins on the side, obviously. She's accusing John of flirting or hooking up with other people, or at least being interested in other people, whatever. They had the whole thing fighting over the kids, whatever. But the point is that Karen has like an anxious attachment style, right? So she's the kind of person where she's going to do everything in her power to try to resolve an argument right now. And she's not going to be able to tolerate sitting with that anxiety until the argument is resolved. Okay. That's why, like, we all know this. John was avoidant. That's why he was like, stop calling me Karen. When I'm done taking, my nephew to the doctor's appointment, I'll call you back. Or my dad is here, I'll call you after, right? So they're like the classic anxious and avoidant dynamic. Nobody, especially when you have a history of fighting in your love relationships, starts becoming violent in their 40s. It just doesn't happen, right? Like there's nobody who just starts all of a sudden in their love relationships out of nowhere decides I'm going to run over my boyfriend at 44 years old. Like that's not what happens, right? All of us, anyone who's ever known anyone who was crazy enough to get physically violent to the point where they might run their partner over, anybody you can think of who would even be in that camp, there was a long history of probably under the influence of alcohol getting into fights with their partner, with their love relationship, right? That's not something that just spontaneously happens out of nowhere, no matter how much alcohol you give somebody. Like people are either violent or they're not, right? But that's not something that you just magically one day turn on. And there's no guys, if Karen Reed had any history of violence ever, if there was anyone who could ever have testified to her having a violent bone in her body, you don't think that that person would have appeared for the Commonwealth to tell us about it? I mean, right? So that's, now if you want to argue that there was some kind of an accident, okay. The problem with that argument is endlessly. Number one, there's no bruises on the man's body. So there's that problem, right? Number two, physics tells us John wasn't hit by a car. Taillight pieces couldn't have gotten on his body unless a person brought them over and put them on him. Right? So there's all kinds of other issues also with the idea that she did it. But just to put to bed the idea that, like, in a fit of drunken rage, all of a sudden Karen Reed backed into John. I mean, that just didn't happen. Now, not to mention, there's another problem with this idea. Oh, yeah, Brian Higgins' Jeep is allegedly behind her car? Like, What about that? Oh, it's just so absurd, you guys. It like never ends. It just never ends. And I should tell you, like, I'm not doing it now because I just came off a lot of like technical stuff with the Google searches and going through with Aussie Insider and discussing all of that really important technical stuff with the computer stuff, with the Google search, and going through like the salt table and going through the UUIDs, which is all awesome and wonderful, but I wanted to take a break from the technical stuff. However, make no mistake about it, we are going to come back with key cycles. And actually, this time, I think we have the answer that we've been waiting for a long time, and all kinds of other very technical stuff you're going to start to see coming in the future. But like I said, I wanted to take a moment away from that because we had gone so heavy down the technical road for a while. All right. I know it's 1 o'clock, but I want to jump ahead a little bit. I just want to get into a little bit of Jennifer McCabe's cross because it's like too good not to see. So let me see where we are in this testimony. This is the problem. Like, there's so much good stuff in her testimony that we just like, it could go on forever. And I don't want to. Maybe we'll have to do an extra show or something to try to get this done, because we'll never get it done if we just do this like, once a week. We'll be doing this forever. Let's see. Let me just see where we are here.
What did you do?
My husband came running down the hall and was like, tell her to shut up. She's going to wake up the neighbors. And then I said, I'm just going to go with her. I'm going to go look for John. And then he yelled down saying something like, you can't be driving around in this weather, with a broken taillight.
When you saw
Right.
the defendant at your front door, had the weather changed overnight?
I
Yes.
mean, this is like the kind of
Was it
absurdity.
different?
Again, it's like,
Yes, now.
does anybody really think that this is anybody really like, is it even plausible to actually believe that Matt McCabe, is that what she yells down from the bedroom and says, be careful because Karen's taillight is cracked? I mean, what? Where did you even invent this? It's so ridiculous, right? Like, come on. These people, man, they're just brutal. They're tough to take. So we're gonna have to figure out, what are we gonna do, you guys? There's so much to get through, and we have to do the cross. We have to, like, not doing Jennifer McCabe, like the cross examination of Jennifer McCabe is like, I don't even know how. It's like, I don't know, like not watching the finale of your like favorite sitcom, like not seeing like the end of Seinfeld or something. Like, you have to see it. It's like from like a detection perspective, it's like the greatest, testimony of all time, because it's just so egregious. We have to do it. We have to see it. But I also wanted to make sure that you see what she's like with Brennan, because she's very different, right? She's not defended, number one. You guys remember what she was like in trial 1. She was brutally defensive. But you can just see, like, she's, more direct. She's not as uptight. She's, just a bit more relaxed. And you can tell from when all of a sudden Alan Jackson's across from her and she's really scared. And I think that's the dominant emotion that I want to make sure that we see together, that I really want to make sure you're aware of. She's afraid of Alan Jackson. Like, she's afraid of him. It's not, Jennifer McCabe is not just trying to get one over. Like, I feel like there are people, who am I forgetting? Maybe a little bit of Brian Albert, but there are different witnesses who I do think, like, for example, Yuri Buchanan. Yuri Buchanan looks at Alan Jackson like sparring. Like, he actually thinks of it like he is going like toe to toe or head to head with Alan Jackson. You can really see it. I spent a lot of time watching Harry Buchanan's several days on the stand, and he felt like he was actively going head to head with Alan Jackson. This is not that. She is scared of him because she doesn't know what he's going to say next. She doesn't know what he knows and what he doesn't know. She doesn't know what he's going to pull out of his hat and try to present to her or nail her with. So you can really see that she's scared of him. I mean, really scared of him. There are some moments that you just have to see. I mean, just the look on her face. So we have to go through this. I mean, it's a must. Just not enough time, you guys. Not enough time in a day. Yeah. Oh, good point, right? What a good point. Not only did she tell them to come back, she told them she was somebody else, right? She first says, like, I'm not Jen. I think she says she's her sister Denise, isn't I think? And then she tells them to come back. Yeah, I mean, it's not good. It's not good. It's really not good. I don't know. It's just not good. It's a good question. I've heard this asked before. What's the over-under on Karen Reed not being drunk when she left 34 Fairview, but going home and slamming down another couple? I think she was pretty. My personal opinion is that she was very drunk when she left 34 Fairview, and probably wasn't drinking very much because she was pretty freaked out. About at that time, though, because she thinks that because she's drunk, she thinks that John is like cheating on her. And again, you have to keep that in perspective. You really have to remember what had happened on New Year's, because he literally had remember, he was going to watch the Alabama game, and all of his friends, they were actually in Aruba with all of his friends. And so from Karen's perspective, he had left her alone with his kids while he was wandering around the resort with all of his friends, wasted, and he just left her. So I think because that had happened, honestly, if that had not happened just before this night, probably this whole night plays out very differently, and Karen doesn't end up having the very specific reaction that she has while sitting there in front of 34 Fairview. Because I think what she really believed when he didn't come back out of the house was that he forgot about her in exactly the same way that he forgot about her on New Year's Eve when he was drunk and he was wandering around the resort looking to watch the Alabama game. If that had not happened, my guess is that she wouldn't have had the same immediate thought that he must have abandoned her. If instead, I think she probably would have been like, what the fuck is going on? Maybe I should go check it out, right? But I think the reason why that she didn't do that in this case is because she really believed he was abandoning her in the same way that he had a month before. That's my understanding of what happened. And that's, again, why I don't think it's weird that her reaction was what it was, right? Because people are like, well, that it doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't she have gone in, right? I get why this is all confusing, but I think when you put it in context, it really makes sense why she got upset and left, and then proceeded to, before she's even in the house, she starts leaving angry messages on his voicemail, right? Calling him a pervert, right? What did she say, John? Oh my God, she says a lot of things. I'm blanking right now, but one of them is she calls him a pervert, right? John, you fucking pervert or something. I forget exactly what there's a few of them. Obviously, she calls many many times. Right. And then it's clear, what is it like in that, like that time between maybe like what, 2:30 and 4 in the morning, when that message goes from anger to fear. You can really hear it in her voice where she all of a sudden stops thinking that he's cheating and now thinks or knows that something has happened to him, and you can hear how she gets scared, right? And it's a different sound altogether. So it's hard for me to hear those messages, look myself in the face, in the mirror, and say, this is a person who was actively trying to murder John O'Keefe. This is the woman who is the danger to John. Like, Karen might be unstable and she might be anxious and she might, be a little crazy when it comes to love relationships, sure, especially when there's alcohol involved, but she's not violent. And she seems to me to be the only one actively really worried about John O'Keefe that morning. That's my take. Everybody else seems like, oh, he's fine. He's on someone's couch, All right. So we've got a lot to do, you guys. It is freaking 1:10. I can't even believe it's 1:00 in the morning. How does 3 hours go by like so fast? It's crazy. We've got so much to do. I don't know what we're gonna do. We got to find like another night or something. I don't know, because we've got so much to do. It's insane. I can't even believe it. We're gonna have to figure it out. I don't know. If we have to do another night of the week, what do you guys think? What is the best night to do? Like, what would be the next best night? You guys tell me in the comments, because I have no idea. I can't even I just have no idea. I'm waiting for the stream to upload or update, because it gets stuck sometimes. You guys tell me, because we got to figure it out. We've got way too much to do and not enough time to do it. Here we go. Wait, it's updating. What day is another good day for us to do it, you guys? Because we've got, I don't know what we're gonna do. We've got so much to do. So much to do. How is it that this stupid chat, oh my God, it gets, you guys, we got to figure out. Oh, okay. Now, the other thing we have to do. So I still have to figure out what platform to do for our call-in show. Now, it seems like Spaces was a real success. The problem with it, though, is that you obviously have to be on X, right? So that's something else that I am trying to actively figure out right now. Keep that in mind. I'm thinking about whether or not to try to give that a shot for our next call-in show, because it's coming up and I don't know what to do. Okay, here we go. Now the chat is finally starting to catch up. Oh my God, you guys, I am like so far behind. Holy crap. Oh my God. Here we go. You guys, what is going on? Why did that? You have no idea. Hours. Thursday. Okay, here we go. Take a poll. Good idea. That's a good idea. Okay. Not everyone is on X. I know. So that's what we've got to figure out. We've got to figure out what space might be best. I don't like Twitter either. I feel the same way that you guys feel. I only go on there just to get information, not to post, because it's nasty and absurd, right? So maybe X is not the right way to go. We'll figure it out. It's crazy. Why is it so difficult to try to figure this out, right? I don't know why. It's just insane. We're gonna have to keep trying, keep figuring out. If any of you have any ideas about what might be the best call-in show, best way to do a call-in show, let me know. Feel free to email me. Because we still have not figured it out yet. It's wild. So, all right. I think, unfortunately, I have to get up at 7:00 in the morning to make sure that my daughter is off to school. So we're gonna have to start to call it, but I'm thinking we're gonna need it. We're gonna need another night. It looks like people like Thursdays, Fridays, maybe. I can definitely. I don't know, you guys. I might be able to do Sunday. Sunday might be the next time. How's Sunday? Does Sunday work for you guys? I wouldn't be able to do Friday because I'm going to be driving, but I might be able to do Sunday. What do you think? Maybe we can do Sunday to try to continue to do our. Oh, right. Okay. So Sunday, yeah, Turtle Boy's on Sunday, right? I know I hate going up against him. His shows, yeah, he moved to Sunday. All right, so maybe we can do. So wait, he's doing now. Is Aiden doing Tuesday, Sunday? Is that what he's doing now? Yeah, he's doing Sunday this week. So maybe we could do Monday. Now, Sunday afternoon, though, we've got football. That's the problem with Sunday. Maybe Monday. Monday evening might actually be best. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tentatively put a pin in Monday. Okay, good. So Denise, Monday works. Put a pin in Monday for us to continue with Jen McCabe because we have so much to go through, you guys. It's like we really, really do. And even if we do Monday and Wednesday next week, we're probably still in the middle of her cross. That's the truth. And I really want to make sure that we get through her because there's just so much here. To me, like she is the key to understanding this case, right? She really is. She really is. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. All right, you guys. So everybody, let me just make sure. I want to make sure that I get everybody. I wanted to say thank you to all of you for all of your support. You guys really are the best chat in the whole world. Really, really are. I know everybody says that, but it's really true. You really are. And just like the best group in the whole world. And I am just incredibly, incredibly blessed to get to hang out with all of you. It is like, what? Who gets to do that? It's crazy. And so hopefully I will see you all again Monday night for us to continue because we have a lot to do. Now that is in addition to all this other stuff that's coming out because, like I said, I am so far down the rabbit hole. And a huge thank you to Corey Hopkins with the sidebars. You guys, how good are these sidebars going to be? Now, I know it's going to be the battle of our lives. Like, there's no way Judge Cannoni's giving away the sidebars. We're not getting them anytime soon. I'd be shocked. However, thank God that Corey Hopkins is there to fight the fight. Thank you, Corey. You're amazing. My God. And everybody who's putting in the effort right now to try to fight for justice for John O'Keefe. Because listen, if we don't keep trying, no one is ever going to, right? These people are just as happy to see it, just sit there forever, to see justice never happen. So it's on us to keep fighting for this police officer to get the justice that he deserves. And everybody enjoy the rest of your, I guess, early Thursday morning. And I will see you hopefully on Monday night and again on Wednesday. Everybody have a beautiful rest of your night. And I will speak to you all soon. Good night, everybody. Good night, good night, good night.
It is the defense counselor's duty to protect the rights of the individual, as it is the prosecution's duty to uphold and defend the laws of the state. Justice for all. Only we have a problem here.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross